Welcome back to Homestead, where they fired engines and get set to pull out for the pace laps. Mike Joy with two-time Grand National champion Ned Jarrett. Ned, what have we learned so far this weekend about this brand new track layout?
Well, certainly they've learned that they have to make a different approach going into the turns. It's not as tight as it was once before, so they can go in faster than they could. They let the car sort of roll through the turn and then get on the accelerator, and they can accelerate fully off the turns now, where in the past they had to decelerate in the center of the corner. So that's going to be quite a bit different. But they've also learned that the speeds are up considerably here.
Yes, they are. And joining us also today on CBS is the crew chief for Dale Earnhardt's Winston Cup team, Larry McReynolds. How does a crew chief come in and look at a brand new racetrack?
Well, this is like coming to a new racetrack, but to get started, they had to look at their old notes. But shortly after practice began, they throwed those notes away, started from scratch. One thing they had to change right away was the gear in the rear end. Because of the speeds are up so much, drivers on the throttle so much, they had to go to quite a bit higher gear to keep from turning so many RPMs or too many RPMs at the end of the straightaway. But one thing that has not changed about Homestead, the team that makes their car work on the bottom of the racetrack, gets back to the gas, make that pass coming off the corner, that'll be the team to beat at the end of the day.
Well, you've met some of the drivers that will compete today. Here are some of the other stories we'll be following. Kevin LePage, last year's winner, came here to Homestead without a ride and with an uncertain future.
And Jeff Fuller is driving a strange car today. He's driving Terry Labonte's car. If Jeff can move up one position, he's 21st in the point standings. If he can move up to 20th, it'll mean about $30,000 for him.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., being that 3-car full-time next year, would like nothing better than to have a good finish here today at Homestead, possibly even a win.
Dick Trickle is always a threat in any race that he's in. He won his first Busch Grand National race this year at Hickory, North Carolina. Look for him to be a strong contender here today.
Well, let's show you where the lineup today. Mike McLaughlin has his 3rd career pole. He won at Watkins Glen and at New Hampshire, and he starts from pole position. Steve Park has his 4th front row start of the year. That's row 1. Row 2, Joe Nemechek, winner at Charlotte in May, and Jason Keller. Row 3, Tim Fido, a runner-up here 2 years ago, and Elliott Sadler has 3 wins this year. Jimmy Spencer, a winner at Charlotte last month, shares the 4th row with Greg Sachs. In the 5th row, Dennis Setzer, who won twice as a rookie, and Scott Lagasse, the road racer. Dick Trickle, as Ned said, won at Hickory, and Joe Bessie won at Dover in September. Wayne Grubb finished 5th at Indianapolis in August and returns to the Tour, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a 7th at Michigan. Mark Martin, now the all-time Busch Series race winner, and Elton Sawyer, who finished 2nd at Atlanta. Kevin Schwantz, the 500cc motorcycle road racing world champion, is here, and Jeff Crow, who was 9th at Indy. Randy LaJoie, who's clinched the championship, and Jeff Fuller. Tony Stewart, 3rd at Charlotte, and Matt Kenseth with 2 third-place finishes. Jeff Purvis is back driving for James Finch. He shares row 12 with Mike Dillon. ASA veteran Brad Loney anchors row 13 with former Rookie of the Year Glenn Allen. Robert Presley, 5th at California, and Mark Crow. Todd Bodine, the winner in California, and Phil Parsons, 5th in the points. Buckshot Jones with 14 top 10s, and Hermie Sadler, 3rd at Milwaukee. Randy Porter won the qualifying race. Tracy Leslie finished 2nd yesterday. Kevin LePage and Michael Waltrip had to race their way into the field as well. So did Dale Jarrett, the inaugural winner of this race, and Connecticut Modified ace Ted Christopher. Dale Shaw, the former Busch North champion, and Mark Green, along with Hank Parker Jr., who will be on this tour some next year, and Ed Barrier, all got in through the qualifying or consolation race yesterday. 42 cars will start.
And there were 10 that had to go home, Mike. It's always sad that everybody can't make the field, but you can see there's some good names in there, including Rick Fuller, who has not run this circuit on a regular basis. He's one of the top modified drivers. Shane Hall had problems yesterday in the qualifying race.
As you see in today's race, we have 33 Chevrolets, which they've already clinched the Manufacturers Championship for 1997, 6 Fords, and 3 Pontiacs.
There are 42 cars starting today, 200 laps for 300 miles. Fuel window 70 to 80 laps, $750,000 purse. The race record set last year by Kevin LePage at over 119 miles an hour.
Even with the change, the track's still just 1.5 miles in length, 6 degrees banking in the turns. That's 2 degrees less than the old configuration, and the straightaways are essentially flat at only 3 degrees of banking.
You're going to ride along today with the pole sitter, Mike McLaughlin, the Gould's Pump onboard camera inside the Team 34 machine. Also, Joe Nemechek, front row Joe's been relegated to row 2, the Bell South Mobility onboard camera. Mark Martin All-time winner now, driving Jack Roush's Ford. That's the Winn-Dixie cam in car number 60. And Jeff Fuller subbing for Terry Labonte in hopes of breaking into that top 20. Fuller with the Bayer camera. And Todd Bodine, number 2 point man, who had to take a provisional. That's our Econo-Lodge onboard camera. Team 34, number 36 Pontiac. And Phil Parsons, 5th in the points. He'll start 30th. Our channel lock camera is onboard Parsons Chevrolet, number 10. Well, that race record is almost sure to fall today. They qualified nearly 3 seconds a lap faster than last year with this new track configuration. So records in the making for this, the final Busch Grand National race of 1997. McLaughlin in red and yellow, and Steve Park, the phenomenal rookie, in blue.
And yesterday we had a lot of trouble in the qualifying race. There were only 18 cars in it, 42 in this field, but on the first lap going into turn 3 we had an accident, and then when they restarted them, same thing. So let's hope it doesn't happen today as they get ready to go.
Calamity Corner would be turn 3 as these cars come up to speed, get through 1 and 2, and we'll see who gets a run down the backstretch.
As they go into turn 1, you're going to see all these cars trying to get to the bottom. I'm sure we're going to see some side-by-side racing, but the bottom groove is going to be the fastest way around.
And they're not up to full speed yet, Larry, so they can run side-by-side here now. It'll be interesting to see when you get to turn 3, when they got full speed, that's when it really gets tricky. Still some of them side-by-side, though, Mike. In fact, they're 3 abreast there in one point.
Not for long. Not on this new racetrack. Steve Park hangs on a second. Elliott Sadler drifts up a bit. He's going to lose a spot. And it's a battle for the lead. Park will lead lap 1 as they go side by side to the first corner.
Boy, he was extremely fast in practice from the time he unloaded that car here on Thursday. And everybody thought he'd get the pole, but Mike McLaughlin slipped in there and got that. But he was fast yesterday in practice, Steve Park.
Now showing a lot of restraint there was Joe Nemechek going into turn number 1. That red, yellow, and blue number 87 in third. Mike McLaughlin didn't come all the way down, but Nemechek knew it was way too soon to stick his nose in there. Backed off and let McLaughlin hold on to second place for the moment. It's Park, McLaughlin, Nemechek, Jason Keller. They're in red and yellow in 4th place in the 57.
Nemechek taking a look on the inside of McLaughlin going into turn 1. He's got the spot.
Seems like where they're really beating Mike McLaughlin is getting into the corner.
Well, you saw him grab an extra handful of wheel there, right in the middle between turns 1 and 2. Steve Park, our leader, and trouble in turn 2, back straight away. There's Trickle, Mark Crow, Robert Presley.
Tony Stewart involved as well.
At least 4 cars wrapped up there coming off the second corner. Trickle pulls away, kind of.
Yeah, his car is pretty beat up, Mike. He's not going to be able to race. He might get back out there, but he won't be able to race it competitive. There's Buckshot Jones in the car 00.
That's Robert Presley, who took over that ride from Jeff Fuller mid-season. Fuller ousted from a ride he helped put together and bring that sponsor to. Presley in the car, and it'll be a short end of the season perhaps to Robert's day.
A lot of damage to Dick Drickle's car. He's trying to get it going.
And there's Brad Loney. 2 ASA victories for Loney. Hopes to be on this circuit next year. He got caught up in that one.
And a lot of parts gone from that car. You can see on the right front. Here's a lot of damage to the car in that area, but also the back panel was gone. So, Larry, that's really going to affect the aerodynamics of the car.
Yeah, the real problem will be with this front end. You know, Ned, I've seen race cars that lost that back panel and actually improved the performance of the race car. But that front end damage with the speeds being so great here is really going to hurt the performance of this car.
All right, let's see what happened here coming off turn 2.
Well, there were almost 3 abreast as the car number 83.
That's Wayne Grubb, who got into Trickle.
Yep.
And he may have had a little help too. Let's see.
Well, there you can see just a little bit of contact, and Trickle is out of shape then.
He almost got it corrected. Real close for Randy LaJoie, the Busch Grand National champion.
See cars going on both sides, but Mark Crow had nowhere to go in the car number 80.
Nor did Presley or Tony Stewart. First caution of the day comes early. There's your champion, Randy LaJoie, and CBS Sports coverage of the Jiffy Lube Miami 300 continues after this message and a word from your local station. 7 cars involved in the first caution of the day. Welcome back to Homestead, Florida. The final Busch race of the season, and let's have a look at how this got started, Ned.
Okay, they were coming off of turn 2, and you see right there that Dick Trickle gets a slight tap from the rear from Wayne Grubb in the 83 car. Then just a moment later, here comes the 72 car, and he makes contact also with Grubb. But Grubb gets the best end of the deal. The car number 83, so you see Trickle spinning on around. Grubb goes right on through. He's okay. But the 72 car there of Mike Dillon, he goes high on the outside, and then others get involved. Here's the number 44 car of Tony Stewart, the number 47 of Robert Presley getting involved, and the number 80 of Mark Crow.
Add Brad Loney to that list, and Buckshot Jones, who were also involved. Ralph Shaheen is with Phil Parsons in the garage.
Mike, a busted radiator is at least one of the problems for Phil Parsons. Phil, can you tell us what happened out there?
I'm not really sure, Ralph, but somebody obviously got turned around or something up in front of us, and just by the time we come off the corner there, and everybody just stopped. I mean, people were going every which way. We ran in the back of whoever we were behind, and we thought we were going to be all right, just some cosmetic work, but because I don't think it ever hit the tires. The steering wheel stayed in the same spot, but they busted the radiator, so that's going to really just kill us in the points. We were trying to move up to 4th, and now it doesn't. Who knows what's going to happen, but the guys are going to get it back together, and we're going to get back out there, and we'll see what happens.
Well,
Phil Parsons was 5th coming into this, and one other thing, an update for you on Brad Loney. The initial report is at least a broken track bar.
Thanks, Ralph. Parsons has reason to be concerned. There are 3 drivers, Elliott Sadler, Buckshot Jones, and Elton Sawyer, within 100 points of Parsons coming into this race. So his 5th finishing position, which is worth a stack of cash at the banquet Monday night, is in jeopardy. Randy LaJoie, however, he'll get the big money Monday night. He's wrapped up the championship. For more, Dick Berggren.
Well, they came into this race today, Mike, wanting to wrap up the race as well. And just before the green flag came out, his crew chief, Steve Bird, basically told them the championship is ours, so mash the gas and let's go for it. But LaJoie got tangled up going past, we believe, Trickle. He just touched, look at little pieces of fiberglass stuck here in the wheel. He flattened the right rear tire, came in and changed it. And as he left, Steve Bird said to him, all right, we got this done and over with. Now let's go out and win the race. See if that happens from the absolute back of the pack.
So he's saying that you got to have a certain amount of bad luck. You got that behind you early and go on.
He had a really close call, and also the second points man in the points, Todd Bodine, had a close call as well.
There's Brad Loney's car being pushed behind the wall, broken track bar. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Homestead, where they've just dropped the green flag, and Joe Nemechek bolts into the lead. Number 87, front row Joe. The success he's had this season in qualifying, now trying to pick up the win here at Homestead today. Steve Park trying to hang on to 2nd spot against Jason Keller. That's Keller's red machine on the inside as they go back to turn 1.
Keller got a good run off turn 4, down on the inside, and made the pass.
See all these cars working right on the bottom, actually below the white line. A lot of them sticking those left side tires below the white line, which is a sign your car is really working good.
They just restarted 1 lap ago. We've completed 10, and we'd hope for record speeds here after all the pole speed was 8.7 miles an hour faster than last year. But this first caution flag was a lengthy one. Phil Parsons, Brad Loney, Dick Trickle behind the wall. Ralph Shaheen is with Trickle.
Well, Dick, can you tell me what happened out there?
Well, we have the car set really loose because the biggest problem here is going to be pushing and race up off the corners. And we had the car a little loose and it hadn't come in yet, so I wasn't able to get on through the corners and up off the corners real good. And, somebody was running all over me, and I ain't blaming nobody. I needed to be, the car was going to come to me, and I had to just wait a lap or two. And they got on. I tell you, they're a little true. We had a great car all weekend. We were top 5 in practice, and I had a good chance to win this race, but it's a heck of a way to end the year, but it's been a great year.
Here's trouble off turn 4. Jason Keller has lost it. Here's Elliott Sadler spinning around. Looks like everybody else is going to get by. And I'm not sure that either one of them hit anything, Mike.
I don't think they did, Ned, but Keller went around off the nose of Steve Park's car.
Looked like Steve beat him back to the gas just a little bit earlier over there in turn 4 and got in the back of him. He almost had it saved, but it come on around with him.
This racetrack, as we saw in the qualifying race yesterday and in practice, the best way to pass here, as you folks pointed out in the open, get a run off the corner and take the low groove away from the other car going into the opposite end of the speedway. But in getting that run, sometimes some people either get a little impatient or don't have quite enough racetrack to work with.
Well, you get in that gas and you figure the car in front of him is in the gas full too, and you don't expect to get a surge on him, and sometimes you do. And if you get just a little bit of momentum that the other car might not have, and then you make contact, and it doesn't take much at that point of the racetrack, and it'll spin them around.
And to be fair, these cars run so close that if you get a run on someone and their car doesn't accelerate quite as quickly, before you realize it, you're into them, and it doesn't take much. Let's show you.
Here, this is the 57 and the 3 car right here as they come off the turn. And right there, a little bit of contact made. The 3 car of Steve Park gets into the Slim Jim car number 57 of Jason Keller. Didn't take much of a lick. He made a 360, then another one down on the inside. Then it spins back the other way. Didn't go. And here was the 29 car of Elliott Sadler. He probably got bumped from the rear. As we're trying to slow down, we see it again as they come off the turn. And you see Keller keeps the wheel spinning on his car. There's the black car, the number 29, coming in to the picture. And he just they spin away from each other and spin down, fortunately, to the inside of the racetrack. And that lets everybody else go by.
Here's what Mark Martin saw.
Well, he was accelerating through it right after that. Mark had really slowed down when he came up to that.
He didn't see much from that view, just a lot of tire smoke.
Yes.
Here's Ralph.
Mike, they brought Jason Keller's number 57 down pit road. They planned on changing 4 tires. He said he was very hot on the radio after that incident with Steve Park. The crew has spent the last lap or so trying to calm him down. They feel they have a very good race car and could be a player here today if they can keep their driver cool. The last of the 4 tires being put on, the gas going in, he's going back out.
Keller dropped from 2nd to 19th with that spin, but had to come in to change flat spotted tires.
That's probably a pretty safe move right there, because even though it appeared he kept the wheels spinning, if you just get on the brakes just any time at all, it will flat spot those tires, and he'd be in big trouble when he gets to go back to racing. But, you know, that's what his crew's got to do. 185 laps to go. He's got a good race car. He's got 4 fresh tires. He just needs to be patient and keep his head about himself.
Now he's going to be 37th now. There are 37 cars in the lead lap. But I think you're right, Larry. He has a car. He can get back up there.
5 cars in the garage. Parsons, Loney, Trickle, Mark Crow, and Presley. Going back to green this time. 14 laps completed, 15 this time by. 2 cautions here in the early going. We're back to green. That's Jimmy Spencer, the white car on the inside, down low on McLaughlin. He gives him just enough room. Out front, it's Nemechek. Park is right with him.
On that last restart, Steve had lost those first 2 positions pretty quick, but a lot of times that's a sign of a good handling race car. When your tires don't have the heat in them, sometimes you don't get the grip, but once they get heated up, then you can go back to the front. That looks like what he's doing here right now. His car really going through the center off the corner here.
That's going to be the key. Nemechek doing the same thing, though. He pulled Park a little bit off turn 4 that time.
Right behind this group of 4, that white car, Jimmy Spencer. He's going to be a threat today. That was a power move Spencer put on. Move up a notch on the restart. Park is 2nd. Greg Sachs is 3rd. That 49 car, there's Sachs. Former Daytona winner and Winston Cup. Won a lot of modified races before coming south. Ran a racing school here at Homestead on the old track layout. And Scott Lagasse, the road racer, number 22, right up there ahead of Spencer.
Scott having a great run here today so far. Here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the blue and yellow number 31. On the inside of Mike McLaughlin.
Where have we seen those colors before?
Oh boy, doesn't that bring back some memories? Dale Earnhardt won the championship or so in the Wrangler colors. And brings back a lot of memories.
Elliott Sadler was involved in that spin with Jason Keller, and he's back in 37th spot. Dick Berggren?
Well, Larry McReynolds a moment or so ago talked about a flat-spotted tire. This is one of the flat-spotted tires that came off Elliott Sadler's car. His tire is virtually brand new, about 98% around. It's this part here that's completely gone. You just can't drive a thing like that at high speed, so they had to come in and change all four. Mike?
Worn right down to the cord.
We talked about Phil Parsons being in the garage. He is now coming out to try to make as many laps as he can and try to earn as many points as he can.
Parsons is 38, 14 laps down.
About all the Busch International races that Joe Nemechek runs, he runs good, but he especially runs good on these flat racetracks.
Got a great setup and drives flat racetracks well. It takes a combination. Not only having a good race car, but you got to be a driver that likes this type of racetrack, and apparently he does. He has the feel for it.
Looking out the back of Jeff Fuller's car, Bayer Chevrolet in 19th right now. Looking back at Todd Bodine. Todd has moved up some from his provisional starting position. Trying to hold on to second in the points, and Fuller trying to crack the top 20. That's worth at least $30,000 in point form money if he can get past Dennis Setzer. They are 17 points apart.
Todd had not been happy with his car since they unloaded it. I talked to Clyde McLeod this morning, the crew chief, and he said they really worked hard on some shock absorbers yesterday and finally got that car where it was turning better through the middle. He said it was, Todd told me it was like plowing like a dump truck on Friday, just would not turn at all.
Well, it looks like Mike McLaughlin, the pole sitter, is having some kind of a problem because Todd Bodine just went by him. And McLaughlin going back in the pack. Mike already back to 19th position.
Matt Kenseth going by as well.
Kenseth just ahead as you ride with the pole sitter. Waterloo, New York native. World-class snowmobile racer. Well, not sanctioned, but up there at Old Forge, you know. Riding with Todd Bodine. Let's go to his pit. Here's Ralph.
Well, Mike, this is where that Goodyear tire test might come into an advantage for Todd Bodine. This is the exact car that Todd tested here when they came for that tire test. They softened the front, stiffened the rear, and changed motors on this car to get ready for today. That's what they did after Saturday. And as Larry said, they feel this car is ready to come to the front now.
Well, there's something you didn't see often in this series this year. Somebody passing Mark Martin in the number 60 car. That's Jeff Crow going around the outside.
That was a bold move. And thank goodness it was a driver like Mark Martin that didn't want to fight too hard for the position at this point of the race that would allow him to do that.
You know, just to talk about some of the changes that they made to Todd Bodine's car this morning, softening the front. Basically what they did, they took rate out of the front springs, and that will make the front end bite into the racetrack. They stiffen the rear, and in a sense that will almost to some degree unhook the rear, but they're working basically on making that race car turn through the middle of the corner.
Jeff Purvis on the right side of your screen. That's the James Finch number 4, new sponsor there. And Purvis back in for James Finch. Now there's Mark Martin's suspension, Larry.
This is the coil spring right here. You heard him talk about a track bar a while ago. That's the track bar right there, and that's basically what keeps the rear end centered underneath the race car. Then you've got the shock absorber, which we hear so much about today, and something that teams are really working with.
And all of those things are very, very important in chassis setup and making that car hook up to the racetrack.
Many years ago, we'd put 4 shocks on the race car, and that's something we'd never changed, but now it's become more of a tuning tool than anything we have.
Larry, I don't think when I raced, I don't think we had but about 6 shock absorbers. We had a stiff one for the right front and a little less stiff for the right rear, and then softer ones for the left, and then a pair sort of in between, and that was it. We didn't know about shock technology. Now all of these trucks have shock dynos in them, and you guys have it in Winston Cup. It's amazing at what has happened in that technology.
And basically every team has a shock specialist. It's a guy that's all he does is work on the shock absorbers.
You can see that shock absorber working as the spring works up and down.
Now these lines right here, what they are, they basically are taking the rear end grease and running it through a cooler to cool the rear end grease, you know, where the gear don't pull too much heat.
Martin running in 13th, Purvis up to 12. Back up at the leaders, Joe Nemechek and Steve Park, with Nemechek breaking a little distance on the rookie.
And both of them have put quite a bit of distance on Greg Sachs, who is running in 3rd place.
Sachs has been under heavy pressure. Scott Lagacy and then Jimmy Spencer, the rest of the top 5 at 25 laps. There's the interval you see from 1st and 2nd back to 3rd. And for more on second place Steve Park, Dick Berggren.
Well, let's make it Mike McLaughlin. McLaughlin started on the pole, and he has worked his way virtually to the absolute tail end of the field today. The problem, the car is very loose, and that's a big surprise, because here in practice and testing, virtually everybody thought an understeer. Being loose is exactly the opposite, and that's what's happened to McLaughlin after being the fastest guy out here on the racetrack, Mike.
Thanks, Dick. The pole sitter deep. Here's your second place point man, or Steve Park, the way they're running right at the moment.
You know, Ned, one thing that might have thrown Mike McLaughlin and his team a curve, yesterday's practice was a lot cooler temperatures and a lot cloudier, so they may have made some changes to free that car up because it wasn't turning, and today it's sunny and a lot hotter, and that could be what's got that car loose.
And the difference in temperatures seems to have a bigger effect on flat racetracks.
It will definitely make the car not grip the racetrack as good.
Let's watch him. McLaughlin down into the corner. Elliott Sadler closing right in. Sadler on fresh tires after that spin. Looking back from Mike McLaughlin at Sadler. See him get just a little closer as they come out of the corner. McLaughlin plenty of steam down the straightaway. And they roll off into turn 3, and Sadler draws to within half a car length. Fourth place battle. Scott Lagasse, former SCCA Spec Racer champ, had a season in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Now comes to the Busch Series. Had a great qualifying effort. Now he has a mirror full of Mr. Excitement, Jimmy Spencer.
Wonder what's going through his mind right now. He said, okay, that's Jimmy Spencer coming up, and Spencer, of course, one of the more aggressive drivers in NASCAR racing. Exciting to watch. He didn't get that nickname of Mr. Excitement for nothing. And Scott hasn't raced that much with him, but I'm sure he has a lot of respect for him. And if he gets up there and challenges him too much, well, maybe he'll give him the room that he needs.
Right behind them, Dale Earnhardt Jr. There's Spencer.
Gets the run coming off the corner. That's where his car seems to be a little bit stronger. And yes, he's got a run going, and Scott will have no alternative but to back off. He does.
Once you get to that position and you get that door on them, they have no choice but to let you have the position getting in the corner.
That's Lagasse in the blue and yellow number 22. That blue and yellow number 31 behind him is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And up front, Joe Nemechek. He's a native of Florida, from Lakeland. This is his home racetrack. It's also got to be the hardest place for Joe Nemechek to come and race. Back in March in the Craftsman Truck Series race, his younger brother John running in the top 10 and having his best run in perhaps a year in that series, hit the turn 1 wall, fatally injured, head injuries claimed John Nemechek. Joe Nemechek, though, races here today from the second row to try to win this one. Joe and Andrea have a son about a month old named John after Joe's late younger brother. This has to be a tough day for Joe Nemechek, but he's doing what he does best, Ed, getting out there and trying to win this race.
Yes, that's the best thing that he could be doing. He said it was a little bit tough when he came here to test. That was the toughest day for him, when the first day that he came here. But since then, he has adjusted and adjusted well, because he is certainly running well. Boy, here's some great racing going on.
That's Ted Christopher in 13 against Joe Bessie. Randy LaJoy also moving underneath Bessie. He's backing up a bit. Here comes the 21 of Michael Waltrip.
Now, Randy LaJoy, remember, he made a pit stop. He's coming back up through the pack as both Michael Waltrip and Dale Jarrett get by Joe Bessie.
And here comes Tony Stewart in 44. The car he'll drive in the series next year.
Yeah, we hadn't mentioned Tony. We mentioned that he was involved in that accident, but he made several pit stops during that caution, so he is still on the lead lap. He's in 25th position at the moment, and so the car appears to be in good shape.
There's a look at Stewart. Somebody tried to label Tony as an IndyCar driver. Or are you a Busch driver? And he says, well, really, he says, I'm a sprint car and midget driver who happens to have an IndyCar ride. And now he's going Busch Series racing next year full time. 33 laps are complete at the Miami-Dade Homestead Motorsports Complex in the final Busch race of the season. We'll be right back.
This CBS Sports Race Summary is sponsored by Busch Beer, the official beer of NASCAR. After 35 laps here in the Jiffy Lube, 300.
with 52.5 miles complete. Just a couple of leaders and 2 lane changes thus far. It's Nemechek out in front after Steve Park had led in the early going. 2 of the 42 starters have retired. The man on the move is Jimmy Spencer. In the last 10 laps, he has moved from 8th into 3rd. But the guy we're watching is Dale Earnhardt Jr., who started 14th, has moved his way into 6th spot, and is driving a very consistent race out here in those blue and yellow colors. There's Spencer, the man now in 3rd. And say, don't forget, later this afternoon, right here on CBS, Jack Sprague and Mike Bliss will bring him down. We've got trouble out here on the track. Let's go back to Mike Joy.
Front straightaway, one car goes spinning into the wall. That's Jeff Crow, and everybody has to go low to miss him. Heavy, but perhaps not terminal damage to Crow's machine. He's trying to get turned around. And still drivers racing with a caution flag, taking evasive action. Not been a good day for the Crow brothers. Mark was out in the first incident of the day.
Yep, and here's Jeff in the number 56. Best career finish was 9th at Indianapolis back in August.
3rd caution of the day, Ned. The Crow brothers have each contested about half the races on the tour this year. Hope to be here full time in 1998.
This is going to be a break for a lot of drivers who were really struggling back near the end of the pack and were not too far from being a lap down, including the pole sitter. So now they'll be able to make pit stops, make adjustments on their cars, and get back in the thick of this thing.
Joe Nemechek there, 87, and Steve Park had shot out to almost a straightaway ahead of the field, and when the caution came out, Park was running Nemechek down and getting quite close. Looks like they'll come pit side, and here's trouble for Dale Shaw, the New Hampshire driver, the former Busch North champion who came down south to drive for James Finch. Was unceremoniously released after 5 races and some decent finishes, but he's hooked up with Randy Porter's team here. He and Porter are both in the race today, and next year Shaw will drive all the races for his team. Porter will be the team manager and run in 5 races himself. But today, trouble on the right front for Dale Shaw.
I think he was involved in that crash here on the front straightaway, Mike, and as the Crow car was spinning. There's leaders now all headed to pit road.
Ned, this puts them in a pretty good pit window. It's a 200-lap race. Most of them said they could run about 75 to 80 laps on fuel. So coming at lap 40, that means basically if it went green, they could all make it on one stop. But Jimmy Spencer did elect to stay out. Dick Bergman, what's going on down there?
Well, Steve Park is pitting. He's happy with the car. He should be. He's running in 2nd position. Interestingly, Earnhardt Jr. in the 31 has virtually the identical setup under his car. He is running 6th. So both cars associated with Dale Earnhardt are doing really well today. That's a sub 20-second pit stop you just saw for Steve Park, and he's back at it.
There's a look at Park. He's led 14 races this year and won 3. The most successful rookie season in the history of this division. The former modified ace and 2nd-generation driver from East Northport, New York. There's Jimmy Spencer. Jeff Crow was running in the top 10 when that incident happened.
Yeah, he was racing with Mark Martin for that position. So I don't know what might have happened there. Let's go back to the pits and Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Ned, kind of interesting with what's going on with Joe Nemechek. They took on 4 tires and filled him up with fuel, but he picked up a vibration in the last couple laps. They're not sure if it's in the motor or in the drive line.
A little surprising, Larry, that Jimmy Spencer didn't make a pit stop here.
Yeah, that's halfway through a run, so I'm a little surprised myself because, you know, if this thing went green, he'd have to be in 40 laps.
Here's the tail end of what happened. You see Crow's car sitting sideways here in the middle of the racetrack.
And let's watch and listen and see what happened from our camera mounted atop the wall. Here's what Mark Martin saw. He had a bird's eye view. That's Crow just ahead of him.
Just a little bit of contact there as they came off the turn. I had watched them the lap before as they came off the turn. Mark tried to get under him and couldn't make it. And this time, he thought he had a run going, just a little bit of contact there, and around he went. It doesn't take much at that point of the racetrack. It'll send the car in a spin.
But, you know, you could almost hear Mark feathering the throttle, trying to get back to it like, you know, I'm ready to go, let's go. And finally, he went and got into the back of him.
There's Mark Martin. It looked very similar to the Steve Park, Jason Keller incident. One driver getting a run up off the corner, and you try to stay up as close as you can, and there it is. Today's Homestead race is being transmitted with Spanish language commentary. Markets where available. As we're working caution here with 41 laps complete. And we'll be back to Homestead after this. Well, the big winners on pit stops here at Homestead. Mark Martin took on 2 tires. Glenn Allen, Dale Earnhardt Jr. took on 2, so they moved up a bunch of spots. Now Jimmy Spencer, Kevin Schwantz, Tony Stewart did not stop at all, and Jeff Fuller, Terry Labonte's crew, got Fuller from 19th up to 10th. For more on Jimmy Spencer, the new race leader, here's Ralph.
Mike, this is Al Kretzinger, crew chief for Jimmy Spencer. Now, Al, you kept Jimmy out, but apparently on the radios he's not real happy with it. Why'd you do that?
Oh, he's happy with the car. Car feels good. We discussed no changes at all on the first pit stop. You know, and this Chevy Monte Carlo, you know, Zippel running good. Goodyear is giving us a super tire. We can go well over 100 laps with these tires. Our biggest concern is fuel, and we're a long ways away from our fuel window, so we're just going to stick it out where we are.
Well, how far away are you? Can you go another 40 laps?
We can probably go another 40 to 45, somewhere in there. And as we've done before, you know, Jimmy can save fuel like he did at Michigan, so that's what we're doing right now, just idling it around.
Could be a winning strategy for Jimmy Spencer.
Could be. Coming up next, it's a big doubleheader day of racing here on CBS. How much cash can you carry in a pickup truck? The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Racers head to Las Vegas for the final event of the 1997 championship. The CarQuest Auto Parts 420K coming up next. There's number 24, last year's winner, Jackpot Sprague, who will start on the pole.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got nothing to lose. Pull out all the stops, go back to the same Jack Sprague that we had at the beginning of the year for the first 3 quarters of the year, and we've got nothing to lose. We came here to win, and second ain't going to get it.
Coming up next, the CarQuest Auto Parts 420K, and that truck series, it's been real competitive all season.
Yes, it has. They've had a lot of good racing, had some new winners this year, and some very, very good racing.
Let's check with Dick Berggren.
Well, C.R. Miller is the crew chief for Kevin Schwantz, who's running in second place. That car, this team, but with a different driver, won last year. You didn't bring your guy in this last time around. How come?
Well, that would give us a 1-lap window to finish the race on fuel, and we can't take that chance. So we'll wait for the next caution. We're going to have to stop twice, so we're going to wait.
All these caution flags, and they're still thinking, trying to get to the caution or to the checkered flag with as few stops as possible, Mike.
Thanks, Dick. Tonight on CBS, how did Touched by an Angel get touched by an angel and end up in ratings heaven? Where in Hollywood, that's the only heaven that counts. That story and Andy Rooney tonight on 60 Minutes. Followed by, yes, Touched by an Angel. And then it's the CBS miniseries, Ken Follett's The Third Twin. That's tonight on CBS. And next Saturday, NASDAQ College Football on CBS features the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame with Autry Denson traveling to Bayou Country to battle LSU and star running back Kevin Falk.
Okay, we're about ready to go back to green flag racing with Jimmy Spencer the leader, Kevin Schwantz second, Tony Stewart third, Dale Earnhardt Jr. fourth, and Mark Martin fifth.
A couple of the big losers on pit stops, Ned. Scott Lagasse came in 7th, came out 23rd, and Dennis Setzer came into the pits in 9th place, came out 21st.
Okay, we're not going to have a restart. They've given the 1-lap signal to go, but now they've reasserted the caution lights.
Let's recap the running order for you and the whys and wherefores. Jimmy Spencer and Kevin Schwantz did not pit, so they are first and second. Tony Stewart was involved in an earlier incident, pitted at that time, so he did not come in on this caution. That's his car there in third. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., the yellow machine, along with Mark Martin and Glenn Allen, only took 2 tires. And then at Steve Park back in 7th, he and Joe Nemechek had the quickest pit stops of the drivers who took on a full set of tires of fuel.
You know, Ned, talking about this pit strategy, it's going to be interesting to watch because if we get a caution in about 10 or 15 laps, Jimmy Spencer and Kevin Swant's going to be forced to come in and at least get fuel. The other cars may not pit. That's going to put them in the back, and they're going to lose a lot of track position. Now, if we run 35 or 40 laps and get right close to their window before they pit and we'll get a caution, everybody may be coming in, and the gamble will pay off. But, you know, and I think the two-tire stop by Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is not a bad move. We was just clocking the leaders 40 laps into that run, and they was only running about 3 or 4 tenths slower than they had qualified, and that says a lot for the tire Goodyear's brought here.
Not giving up that much, and then the drivers that I talked to and the teams that the right side tires were the ones that were taking the biggest part of the abuse. Ken Squire.
Let's take a look at some comparisons here. Back in '95 on the old configuration of this mile and a half, there were 3 cautions in the first 50 laps, and in '96 there was only 1. Well, we're right back up to the top side of that mark as we get closer to 50. We're working on lap number 47 at the present time out here, and as we started the programs mentioning that they're all rookie drivers, rookie luck continues for many of these competitors. Looks like this is going to have a lot of cautions in it before it's over. Back to green, and how about Glenn Allen from Cincinnati from 26 to 6.5.
That two-tire change really helped Allen as we're back to green, and Spencer leads Kevin Schwantz. Cornering on 4 wheels instead of the more familiar 2, and there's Dale Earnhardt Jr. right up against Tony Stewart, and around goes Stewart.
And the full field behind them, and there's Earnhardt spinning around now.
And 3 more cars, 4 more get into it.
When it happens that early up near the front, you're going to have a lot of cars involved.
It looked like the same thing that's happened 2 other times today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. just beat him back to the gas, and Tony Stewart didn't get going, and he got into him and he come around. There you see Scott Legacy coming down pit road. Tony Stewart finally getting going. Somebody's tire and wheel laying there on the racetrack.
And of course, caution again here at lap 48. Jason Keller dragging most of the right front. That's apparently his tire up there in turn 2.
And there's Tony Stewart, the car number 44.
One thing we should point out, and Ned, I'm sure James Purvis or Jeff Purvis involved as well. When 2 cars make contact like that, the car's cornering so close to the edge of control to start with that just the littlest touch, that if the driver behind backs off right away, even so, isn't the damage done?
Yeah, the damage is already done, yes. And especially coming off the turn, when you're accelerating, you're almost out of control coming off of there anyway. And so just the slightest little bit of a touch will send it around. And also, sometimes when they're running as fast as they're running on this racetrack now with the new configuration, when they come off of that corner with one right up under the nose of another car, or the back end, to have a nose up under the back end of another car, you can loosen that car up, take the air off the spoiler, as we say, and that will help to make him looser. He might have to back off just momentarily coming off of the corner.
It's making him where he cannot get back to the throttle right open. Exactly.
That's Scott Legacy's car with heavy damage. Had a great qualifying effort and a promising first part of this race, and then a bad pit stop put him back in midfield. Now here's Ted Christopher, and I'm going to put right sides on Christopher's car. I'm not sure how much damage he got in that one. Ted Marsh and crew. It'll be a 4-tire change for Christopher. Modified ace. Yesterday, he changed tires in the All-Pro Series after he ran the qualifying race. Ralph Solom's an All-Pro crew chief for Mike Garvey. They're old friends from Connecticut. He says, Teddy, can you help us out? We don't have a full crew. So Teddy was tire changer.
Really? Does it all. Well, there's Earnhardt's car. Not too much damage on the, no damage on the right side.
Dick Bergman's there.
No damage to the left side either. There isn't even hardly a scratch on this thing. Jimmy Elledge is going to change the rear tires. If you've watched Dale Earnhardt in action, you've seen Elledge change tires for him. Scott Rocks Jordan is changing the front tires. Kevin Mannion is on the jack, and Derek Finley is working the gas. Up top on the track box is Wesley Sherrill. He's the crew chief. He's only 22 years old. Look at all the matched uniforms, folks, on pit road. This is not one of the most formally organized pit crews you'll ever see. Terrell Shaheen.
Tony Stewart frustrated sitting inside the car. Tony, can you tell me what happened over there?
Just got crashed.
Do you know who or how it hit you from behind?
I know who it was. I mean, is the 31 car, but, you know, I don't know how much that lap paid, but I hope it paid a bunch because he was racing it like it was the last lap.
Obviously a very frustrated Tony Stewart.
Let's have another look at what happened up here in turn 2 and just how little contact it takes to create major trouble.
Well, this was some of the things that was going on behind the accident, I believe. There's Jason Keller coming up there as the 4 car slowed down, and he gets up on top of Jeff Purvis. There's Mike Dillon in the 72 car. He gets involved. You saw Earnhardt's car sitting on the outside, and that's Jason Keller's wheel, I believe, that we see bouncing up on the outside of the track. And there was the 22 car of Scott Legacy coming in there.
Oh, Stewart took a hard crunch into the wall.
Look at that wheel bouncing over race cars. Thank goodness for those wheel fences.
You know, this is a case of how much trouble there can be when the 3rd and 4th place car gets in trouble and all the cars behind them have nowhere to go.
There's that barrier around.
It becomes a chain reaction type of a deal.
Purvis ended up making a left in front of all that traffic and nobody else hit him. Let's ride with Mark Martin.
So he's not fully accelerated yet coming off that turn. Now he accelerates a little bit heavier. Then he sees the problem there, slows down, then really gets on the gas, changes gears, get out of here as quick as he can.
I believe Mark Martin has had a bird's eye view all day long of these crashes.
Oh, Jeff Fuller playing Dodgem cars here. He got in the back of Matt Kenseth and had to dodge everybody else. Let's ride with Joe Nemechek through this.
Okay, he gets up and taps the 3 car just a little bit, weaves his way through there, gets on the gas, gets another gear, and gets on out of there.
And there was a good example. Steve Park saw what was going on, did not get back to the gas. Nemechek didn't. He almost got in the back of Steve Park.
And there's the tire from Atlas Jason Keller.
Well, a lot of good race cars.
All right, now, folks, watch here. Purvis will lift off the throttle. So will Teddy Christopher. Now, they're slowing down for the incident. Not everybody did.
Jason Keller got a pretty good run coming off of there, down on the inside, and wham, right up on the side of the car of Jeff Purvis. Mike Dillon in the 72 car gets involved.
Teddy Christopher had that tire right up over him, and then Ed Barrier in 77.
Right, in the 77 car. And then Scott Legacy gets involved. Boy, a lot of good cars wrecked there.
Let's go behind pit wall. That's Jason Keller's car. Here's Ralph.
Well, Jason, looks like you took a pretty wild ride. Can you tell me what happened?
I really don't know what happened there in front of us. Some cars had gotten together, and I had already committed low, you know. It's really a shame, you know, we kind of got behind there early. It was really senseless that guys were racing that hard, you know. I passed the 3 car clean. I don't know what made him so mad to come in there and wreck me like that, but you know, it's really a shame that we didn't really have a good show. We had a good car, but nothing much to show for it now.
To Dick Berggren.
Scott Legacy's car is behind the wall, and as you can see, it is absolutely beat up. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. It wasn't a hard hit, but enough to put us out for the race. We got the radiator and the cooler on the Pestafent Chevrolet, so it's pretty hard. You get yourself back there in a pack, and that's typical of what happens. You know, we were running pretty good there early, and we got back, and we just have to keep working at it. You know, I don't know what the magic is here. Just keep getting smarter as we go, and work hard at it, and we'll get the Pestafent Chevy up there.
It's been a tough season for Scott Legacy. This will be his 6th DNF in 9 starts. Mike?
Thanks, Dick. Tough break for Legacy. 4 cautions in last year's race in 200 laps. Today we've already had 4. The record is 13 in 1995. That's one record we're not looking to break today because the trucks are waiting for us. Their race next year on CBS from Las Vegas. Getting set for a restart, and we're back under green. Kevin Schwantz, world champion on 2 wheels, now takes the lead here on 4 wheels.
So Jimmy Spencer made a pit stop during this caution.
And so did Earnhardt. Likeable young Texan. He'd like to be here full time next year. In fact, they had the opening practice round. Kevin Schwantz's team, they had every spring, every shock, everything out from under that car and made wholesale changes. Obviously, they paid off.
Evidently, and here comes Joe Nemechek up on the outside of Mark Martin. Got to have confidence to do that, but he knows Mark's going to race him clean off of that corner, and he did. So Nemechek takes the position. Moves up to fourth, drops Martin back to fifth.
What we got to remember here is Steve Park and Nemechek got 4 fresh tires earlier, and we talked about it. Thought it might not have been a bad move, but Mark only got 2 tires.
See Mark's car wiggle there right in the middle of the corner, Ned.
Yeah, I don't think it's handling exactly the way that he would like for it to. As we saw there, the car number 36 of Todd Bodine was moving in Jeff Fuller, but riding with Mark Martin here. It's way below that left line.
And the car just darts a little right between turns 3 and 4 there. Now here's Todd Bodine. Todd is up to 10th place. 55 laps complete.
And Nemechek just goes around Steve Park. So he's on the move again. He was the leader of the race before all of these cautions that we've had here in the last 10 or so laps. So he still has a fast race car.
Now these two birds are way out in front of the pack. Kevin Schwantz and Glenn Allen. You see the big lead that they've opened up here. They did not stop last time, Ralph.
You know what, Mike? Kevin Schwantz is a pretty tough guy. At the British Grand Prix on 2 wheels back at Donington, England in 1992, Kevin fell off his motorcycle seriously in the final practice session before qualifying. Crew was a little concerned he hadn't cleared all the cobwebs out of his head. Kevin said, hey, pick me up, stick me on the bike, and point me in the right direction down pit road. I'll be fine. He went out, won the pole that day.
Pretty tough guy. He led 3 laps in California, so he's now led in 2 of his 3 Busch Grand National starts. Glenn Allen, former Rookie of the Year, right on his tailpipe. And a long gap back to Joe Nemechek, Steve Park, Mark Martin in 5th, Matt Kenseth in 6th. Joe Bessie, Michael Waltrip, Todd Bodine, and Jeff Fuller are the top 10. Larry, these 2 cars did not take on tires, but here at this racetrack with the tire that Goodyear has brought, the new tires help you all that much.
Well, again, you know, it says a lot for the tire, and it just goes to show you there's no substitute for track position at a racetrack like this. It's so hard to pass. You get yourself out front, you don't have to deal with traffic. You also can keep yourself out of trouble.
Now you ride with Jeff Fuller. He's in 10th place. The man right behind him, Dennis Setzer. This is a good story here because these 2 are the drivers racing for the last paid position in the season point totals. It's a minimum of $30,000. Whoever finishes 20th and whoever finishes 21st gets nothing. Thank you for playing.
And their banquet is tomorrow night here in the Miami area.
And they are 17 points apart. Stone crab.
Maybe ought to go.
Greg Sachs and Randy LaJoy, the series champion for the 2nd year in a row. LaJoy said it was going to be fun today to race with nothing to lose. That championship and that big check is in his pocket.
Sachs is 14th. LaJoy is 15th at the moment. LaJoy wants to look on the inside, but not up there far enough this time. Here's Elton Sawyer in the car number 38 coming into that picture.
And Sawyer's got a lot to race for here. He's involved in a battle for 5th through 8th in the point standing. And it all ends today. Final race of the season. Next year, instead of 30, they'll run 31 events, adding Colorado Springs, Pikes Peak International Raceway. This race is for 3rd. Joe Nemechek and Steve Park, who started the day out battling for the lead, now find themselves racing for 3rd and 4th, but you can see they're closing on the 2 leaders.
They're definitely closing on the night. They've looked like about 10 car lengths off of that lead here in the last couple of laps. So I think either the new tires or the fact that both of these were fast race cars, faster than anything else in the field earlier, so I expect that has a whole lot to do with it.
Not only that, Ned, but they've moved away from Mark Martin, because the 2 of them have taken off.
Mark Martin is still running 5th.
There's 3rd, 4th on back right there. And you can see that gap is shrinking back to the leaders. be about 4 laps here, and we'll have a race right at the point. What a phenomenal season Steve Park has had since he got that call from Dale Earnhardt to come south and drive that Busch car. There he sits tracking Joe Nemechek. He won a lot of races for Scott Banzel in the NASCAR Modifieds. Most popular driver once, runner-up for the series, but never the champion. He came down here hoping to have a respectable rookie season.
I'd say it was more than respectable.
He's got so many things going for him. The biggest thing he's got going, he understands his race car. He knows what he's looking for, and he's got a pretty good idea what it takes to fix it.
That's important in today's racing.
It really is. You know, the crew chief and the crew, certainly their job is to fix the race car, but it certainly helps when that driver can give you the good feedback as to what that car's doing and what his idea is that can fix it, because we can do all the things in the world, but he's the only one that really knows what that car's doing.
Now there's Jeff Fuller battling Tim Fedowa. Fuller, another product of the Modifieds, champion in that division.
Fedowa took the position away. He's driving the car number 33.
It's our Bayer onboard camera with Jeff Fuller driving for Bobby Labonte. The way that happened was Jeff Fuller had some parts to return to another team and said he was looking for a ride to try to break into that top 20 here at Homestead. Needed a car to drive. He was told to go on over and see Bob Labonte because Terry might not be able to make it. Actually, Terry was committed to run this race, and Jeff came over and Labonte's got together and said, you know, let's give him a chance to get in that top 20, and Bob Labonte signed up Jeff to drive that car. And he's giving a good run today. He's in 12th place. Joe Nemechek has caught the leaders.
I'm sure Joe's going to show some patience here. He knows he's got a fast race car, and he just needs to pick the right place, you know, when to go by these guys.
Joe Nemechek, the Bell South Mobility onboard camera. Looking ahead at Glenn Allen.
Glenn Allen's car not giving up the bottom of the racetrack, so Joe's going to have to work just a little bit to get by.
Now Joe passed Mark Martin on the outside. Wonder how he'll go after Glenn Allen here.
I don't believe he'll try that move here. It'll surprise me if he does. I think he'll try to get him coming off of a corner.
Saw Glenn Allen getting just a little bit loose there in the center of the corner, but not enough that Joe could get any momentum on him.
That time Nemechek had a little higher line coming off the corner. Glenn Allen's got 2 wheels below the white line. You're not going to get inside that.
No.
This gives you the effect of just how long and sweeping these corners are. Reminds me a lot of turn 3 at Pocono, Ned.
Good comparison.
67 laps complete. Kevin Schwantz leads Glenn Allen, Joe Nemechek, Steve Park, and Mark Martin.
71 laps complete, 106.5 miles. Hello, Ken Squire with you back once again at the Jiffy Lube 300 here at the Metro Dade Homestead Motorsports Complex. One of the biggest stories here for sure is Kevin Schwantz, the 1993 motorcycle champion, world champion. He's made the switch, and it reminds you of the days of Joe Leonard when he was the American AMA motorcycle champion. Had those great runs and those old uprights, those old roadsters at Indianapolis. This kid Schwantz looks for real. Austin, Texas has a lot to be proud of today, Mike.
Schwantz with the nose of that car in the wind. Leaning over. Not dragging that knee pad, but giving a great account of himself here. He has a pretty decent lead on Glenn Allen. Marking at about 3 to 4 car lengths. But Allen has his hands full. Joe Nemechek and Steve Park.
Well, it didn't take Nemechek that long to catch the 2 front cars, but he hasn't been able to make a pass. Of course, he's being, as you said, he's going to be patient in doing it, but we thought that he'd be able to work it, Larry, and make the pass, but so far he hasn't been able to.
Glenn Allen's car working good, and again, the old cliche, it's one thing to catch him, it's another thing to pass him.
Well, we talked about him passing Mark Martin on the outside, and Dick Berggren relayed from Jeff Probst on the scanner, tuning in to Nemechek, where he said, I think our best move is on the outside off turn 4. That's where we're going to look to get him. We'll see. Ralph Shaheen's in Nemechek's pit.
Well, Mike, the one problem Joe Nemechek does have is that he's fighting an aero push right now. Every time he gets close to the car in front of him, Glenn Allen, as you can see when he starts to close in on him, that front nose of that car is going to start to slide out towards the wall, and it just wants to push on up the racetrack.
That's a very good point, Ralph. And if he could get in front of him, Larry, he'd probably drive away from him.
Exactly. Being behind that car, and not only is it taking air off the rear of the car in front of you, but it's taking the down force that pushes down on the front of that car and makes it where it will not turn.
And that's where the term comes from. It's short for aerodynamic push. Not enough air passing over the nose to push it down. The car doesn't get any grip at the front end. They stay close together. Schwantz on the point. The black 88 of David Ridling. The 99 of Allen, Will Papke's car, and then Nemechek's 87 and Park.
And you talk about that aero push, that explains why Nemechek was able to get there so quick, but once he got there, then his car didn't want to turn.
The car you see on the left is the car you're riding inside, Joe Nemechek. See what his line looks like down into turn number 3 there.
Well, it goes down low. Keeps it right, and so does Glenn Allen.
These 4 cars pretty equal right here.
Yes, they are. And remember, those 2 cars in front, their tires are not as fresh as the 87 of Nemechek and the 3 of Steve Park, but yet they're hanging right out there and continuing to lead.
Thought we might have had an opportunity. 2 cars just ahead of them got side by side, and didn't create an opportunity to pick up the draft for either of these leaders. Now they move underneath that lap car as they come past. That's Jeff Crow, and whoa, Jeff Fuller. Dale Jarrett comes a-calling.
Well, they've been running, Randy LaJoie's right behind Dale Jarrett, and there are 4 cars there. They've been running extremely close for the last 8 or 10 laps. And I think you might have a similar situation there with that aero push, that when Jarrett gets up there and mashes on the gas, the front end just breaks loose and he can't quite get under him. Now he gets the nose up there. Is he going to be able to make the pass? Yes, he does. And Randy LaJoie will come right with you.
Well, Fuller up there in that high groove, man. Is he hung out?
Yeah, he's hung out right now. The best thing he can do is just soft pedal it there. If he gets an opening, get back down on the inside. Here's Earnhardt coming back up through there. He has those 4 fresh tires after the spin, but he needs to stay, drive very gingerly up there.
This is where he's really dependent on his spotter to let him know when he can get back down in line.
Had an opening right there, but couldn't quite get down there as Earnhardt comes up now. That's car number 31.
Battle for 15th right here. There you see Greg Sachs moving on the inside as well.
Well, you get up there in that groove, and there's just not a whole lot that you can do about it.
So Fuller's just lost 4 spots in the space of a lap. Nothing he could do once that first car got alongside him. And that 31 is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now here's Nemechek taking second away from Glenn Allen.
He finally got the run that he needed, the break that he needed to get on the inside, and got a run on him and was able to make the pass.
Now he sets off after the leader, Kevin Schwantz. CBS Sports coverage of the 1997 Jiffy Lube Miami 300 will continue after this message and a word from your local station. You're riding with Phil Parsons here in the Jiffy Lube Miami 300, involved in an early crash. He's trying to hang on to his 5th place point standing. Our channel lock onboard camera, but Parsons back 33rd in the race. He's 34 points ahead of Elliott Sadler. Buckshot Jones coming into this race, but that 5th spot's in jeopardy. Parsons 22 laps off the pace. Up front, Kevin Schwantz and Joe Nemechek sizing up the leader, who may have to pit soon.
Yeah, we're getting a report that he has not pitted, and we're getting close to 85 laps. That's up there around 125, 130 miles. That's a long way to stretch a tank of fuel.
That is a long way. So I would say that he'll have a pit stop coming up before too long. You know, Mike, we were talking about motorcycle racers who have really made it in stock car racing too, and certainly Kevin Swanson is a good example of that. There were some others way back in my day of racing. Joe Weatherly was a great motorcycle racer, and he became a two-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion back in the early 60s. And Paul Goldsmith also was a great motorcycle racer, and he made the transition to stock cars and won a number of races, including the last race on Daytona's little beach course.
And Joe Leonard was mentioned. John Surtees, world champion on 2 wheels and on 4. Back to 4 wheels in the second place car of Joe Nemechek. Here's Dick Berggren.
Well, Nemechek has been playing weatherman this afternoon, Mike, and every time he looks up at the sky and he sees the clouds part, a big grin crosses his face. That's where the car is fast. And when the sun came out just a few moments ago, just before he passed for position for the second spot, Nemechek said, now that the sun is out, we'll see what everybody has got. Meanwhile, Kevin Schwantz has not yet pitted. The crew is going to try to stretch it to an incredible 97 laps. They are here. They are ready to pit him, but they're saying they can still go some more. Ralph?
Well, Dick, even though Kevin Schwantz came out of 2 wheels, he's had some pretty good experience on 4 wheels. He was the Rookie of the Year in the Australian NASCAR Series last year, 1996. Now, the Australian NASCAR machine is a Winston Cup chassis with a Craftsman Truck Series motor in it. In fact, Kevin picked up 2 wins. But he said, you know, the biggest problem I had in that deal was every time the car would get into a problem, I'd always want to drag my left knee over, get banging it into the roll cage.
You just saw Kevin Schwantz on 2 wheels. World Motorcycle Road Race champion Mike Halewood also Mike the Bike from 2 wheels to 4.
Boy, Joe Nemechek is all over him right now. They're getting in on some traffic, putting a lap on some cars, and one of those that just went a lap down was the pole setter Mike McLaughlin. He's running in 30th position, and now they're putting Buckshot Jones a lap down. He is in 29th position.
Buckshot with crash damage on the nose from one of those first 3 early caution flags. Schwantz, no sign of him dipping onto pit road. They're going to stretch this tank as far as they can. Could they make a 1 pit stop race?
Well, maybe they could, but you know, the entrance to pit road is over coming into turn 3. And boy, once you get past that, then you're hooked. You've got to go all the way around. If that thing should happen to run out just as he goes into that turn, it is a long way on a flat racetrack to try to coast back around.
We talked about Pocono. It'd be like running out of gas at Pocono. And here you see Joe Nemechek. He keeps looking to the inside.
And Schwantz is going to pit.
Yep.
Finally, at lap 90, Kevin Schwantz comes to pit road. Now you can keep speed up coming around this part of the road course that they use as the pit entrance, and once you come onto the concrete, you have to come down to the pit road speed, which may end up putting Schwantz a lap down, having to pit here under green.
Yeah, I would say that he'll be very fortunate to be able to stay in the lead lap. And let's go to Dick Berggren.
Schwantz rolling down pit road at 45 miles an hour. That's pit road speed. He is the only man on pit road. This crew has been ready to service him for about 10 or 15 laps. Now they get their chance. He rolls for stop with the car that won this race last year. Tires are going to head on the right side. It's going to be 2 tanks of fuel, and you better believe they're going to try to get every possible drop of fuel in it. We are done with the right side. This is a slow stop, however. They're only going to take 2 tires. Schwantz fuel pouring out of the car. Off he goes. 19, 18.9 for 2 tires and fuel. And Schwantz finally has a full load.
And Dick, he did lose a lap. The leader went by while he was just getting down off the jack, as a matter of fact. So he's going to be at least a lap and a half behind.
Well, we've had 4 cautions, but they all came before lap 50. So if you rolled the dice and decided to go through more than half of that fuel load, you got caught out. And that's what happened to Kevin Schwantz, and I believe that's what's going to happen to Glenn Allen as well, as he has not yet made a pit stop.
Larry McReynolds, you've been involved in a lot of these type situations over the years in your career, and most of the time it doesn't pay to go against those that are running up front and those who are winning races and have strategy week in, week out.
Yeah, it really don't. You know, if you follow the leaders, a lot of times it'll work out. But, you know, sometimes if you're always a follower, you'll never be a winner. Sometimes you got to stick your neck out and try to do it. Now, what Kevin Schwantz and his team needs, most of the leaders was in on either lap 39 or lap 48. They need this race to continue green to about lap 120 or 130, and then they'll be in good shape.
We'll see how that plays out. 92 laps complete. Here at Homestead, Joe Nemechek, the leader. Welcome back to Homestead. 96 laps complete in the Jiffy Lube Miami 300. Joe Nemechek leads. Glenn Allen still has not stopped, and Steve Park has moved up into the third spot here as we continue under green. 97 laps now complete. Later today in this NASCAR doubleheader, CBS Sports will be taking you out to Las Vegas for the final Craftsman Truck Series race of 1997. Let's get an update from Las Vegas, where Eli Gold and Buddy Baker get set to call the race.
Mike, thank you, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Las Vegas. We're just about 7 miles from downtown, 8 or 9 miles from the famous Strip. But the story today here is who's in the garage and who's going to be quick on the racetrack. And Buddy Baker, when we say quick, that's the operative term, because this track packs a lot of speed.
This racetrack, you run well over 170 miles an hour down the front stretch. But the real key to this racetrack, you can run 4 wide down the straightaway, 3 wide through the corner. It is action-packed.
The big story today is the championship race, if you want to call it that. All Jack Sprague has to do is take the green flag. The championship is his. Matter of fact, just a few moments ago, Bill Stevens caught up with Jack Sprague in the garage, and they talked about this very big day for him.
So we're halfway home here in Miami, and halfway from putting a lid on the Busch Grand National season. 100 laps remain as Todd Bodine makes a pit stop under green here.
I would think this would be an unscheduled pit stop, Mike. Maybe a little bit earlier than he should. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen. Ralph, is it?
Well, Ned, actually, this is a scheduled pit stop for them. They stopped earlier during all those cautions. They take on right side tires, fill them up with fuel. This is it for Todd Bodine. They do not plan on coming back in at all. They're going to go the distance from here, and this could have a huge effect on that fight for second place in the points.
Watching our Econolodge onboard camera with Todd Bodine, who is 16 points ahead of Steve Park in the battle for second as the series ends, and that pit stop could have been pivotal to Todd Bodine's the amount on his check tomorrow night.
Well, what we remember, he won a race just a few races ago on fuel mileage. He definitely didn't have the fastest race car, but he played the fuel mileage game that paid off at Fontana a few weeks ago.
So he had run about 80 laps, a little more than 80 laps on this last stop. So apparently he can go the rest of the way. So strategy looking good.
And as he said at the top of the show, the car has not been that good all weekend. So if they can't outrun him, they'll try to outsmart him. And I think that's what Bodine just did with that pit stop. Todd Bodine, who goes Winston Cup racing next week at Atlanta and next season. There's Nemechek. Here's a look at his lead. Larry, Glenn Allen has still not stopped.
He's still not pitted, but you know, we've talked about the fuel mileage. We've had 21 laps of caution. Now, he still has stretched his tank of fuel a long way, and if he'll really stay off the gas under caution, you might can stretch it for 3 caution laps to equal 1 green lap. So, you know, that would add 10 or 15 laps to what you could actually run on fuel.
Glenn Allen's best finish 7th 3 times this year. He's trying to outsmart him as well. 103 laps complete. Joe Nemechek leads Glenn Allen here at Miami. Welcome back to Homestead. 106 laps complete. Mike Joy with Ned Jarrett and Larry McReynolds, Ken Squire, Dick Bergman, Ralph Shaheen bringing you CBS coverage today of the final race of 1997 for the Busch Grand National cars, the Jiffy Lube Miami 300. Now there's Joe Nemechek, your race leader. He's just lapped past the 63 of Tracy Leslie. And let me update you on Glenn Allen. Double checking our notes, we find that Allen did make a pit stop at lap 40, so he is on sequence with most of the rest of the leaders. He is not stretching his fuel mileage.
Yeah, he's on sequence with Steve Park, Joe Nemechek, those cars he's racing with there. And we're probably going to see them in somewhere around lap 120, 125, right in there, about maybe 15 or 20 laps from now.
There's a look at Nemechek.
But Todd Bodine had stopped also at that same period of time around lap 40. And he has already stopped. I said there a moment that he'd gone 80-some laps, but that was not correct. He'd gone 60-some laps since he stopped. So
we'll try to find out for Bodine's pit, but Ned, the only thing I can think is that if he made that stop, knowing everyone else has to make one more stop later, then Bodine will end up with track position on the rest of the leaders, and each one of those finishing positions is so important in the battle between he and Stephen Park that I guess that's the only way Bodine could get to the front the furthest.
Okay. We'll see.
Well, let's go to Glenn Allen's pit. Here's Ralph.
Well, Glenn doesn't have to worry about his fuel. His dad, Glenn Allen Sr., handles his fuel for him. And as you said, Mike, they did it on lap 40. Now, they plan on stopping again on lap 120 to take on tires and fuel. Now, the great thing about Glenn Allen Sr. is that he is the mayor of the small town on the outside of Cincinnati. Good news there is, because his son is a race car driver, he's given all of his citizens a 15-mile-an-hour buffer before he makes any of his police hand out a traffic ticket. That's my kind of mayor.
All right.
When's the election? we'll all be there to vote. See, Michael Waltrip is up to 8. He started 36, had to come through the qualifying race. And Glenn Allen started deep in the field, 26. He's climbed up to second place here. The Bodine strategy, a very interesting one.
Yes, it is, because he's going to have to go 100 laps on that last tank of fuel, the one he just made here recently, but apparently they figure they can do it.
There's Todd Bodine just ahead of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jimmy Spencer.
Well, Todd Bodine is a lap down. He is in 27th position at the moment.
And that's definitely the danger zone.
Right.
He needs this thing to go green to those other leaders get on pit road, which would then put him back on the lead lap. If this caution comes now, he's in trouble, especially when you got Steve Park, which is his competitor for points, sitting there in third.
Where did Jimmy Spencer just find the room to get between those two cars?
He moved in there and moved around Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Either that camera angle is very deceiving, or Spencer just says, "Get out of my way, I'm coming."
That passes Michael Waltrip. That is for the 10th position. Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Jimmy Spencer's the kind of guy that can make a two-car consi exciting.
He is exciting.
And he's about to catch another of them, Randy LaJoy.
He's got a fast race car, but what we got to remember, he was leading this race on lap 50. When he pitted, nobody else did. It has taken him 60 laps to try to get back to the front under green flag racing.
He just passed Todd Bodine like Bodine was stopped. And you see Spencer's got a little wheel mark on the right rear, just on the side of the car, just in front of the wheel well. Oh, not matching one on the left side there as well, man.
Yes.
Or is that a decal? Oh, it's a little of both. I think it's a little of both.
Yeah.
I've got to see this again, folks.
Okay, catches Dale Earnhardt Jr. going, wow, but splits him going into that corner. Earnhardt backed off going into the corner because he saw that slow car down on the inside and went up the track a little bit. Spencer just drove her right between him and zipped right around him.
Oh, the Zippo, as it were. Should we give him the benefit of the doubt? Is that a wheel mark or a paint stripe? Let's call it a paint stripe for now. We've got lots of racing left. He truly is Mr. Excitement. Joe Nemechek leads Glenn Allen, Stephen Park, and Mark Martin. For more on the Todd Bodine strategy, Dr. Dick Berggren.
Well, Mike, crew chief Clyde McLeod is incredibly calm given how wound up we are about Todd Bodine. He just says, no problem. We are going to go all the way. I asked him, how risky is this? He looked me straight in the eye. He said, not risky at all. Well, we'll see about that. Along around lap, what, 195? And Larry McReynolds, you hit it right on the head. Most of the teams that I've talked to are going to be in for fuel around lap 120. Not that 36 car. He's going the whole way.
But as Larry pointed out earlier, the big risk, I think, is, you know, if he's confident he can go on the mileage, the big risk is running these 20 or so laps and hoping that a caution doesn't come out.
115 laps complete here in Miami. A NASCAR doubleheader today on CBS. We'll be right back.
This CBS Sports Race Summary is sponsored by Goodyear, #1 in tires.
117 laps complete, 175 miles, 83 laps to go. And you can see there have been 4 different leaders. The leaders changed 5 times. We've had 4 cautions in this race for 21 laps. A year ago, when the track was configured with those 4 different corners, there had been 3 cautions in the first half of the race. 7 cars from the 42 starters have retired from the event. Scott Legacy off to a good start. He's retired. Dick Trickle got caught very early. And what a race we have going up in front right now as Nemechek stays in front and Glenn Allen from Cincinnati in second. Let's go back to the booth. Here's Mike Joy.
Thanks, Ken. Now, Steve Park was running third when we broke for commercial, but now Mark Martin has come up into the third spot, and he's making his run to the front.
Passed him, but now Steve Park has passed Mark back. So they've been having a whale of a race for that position.
Larry, Excuse me, Larry, what do you think of Todd Bodine's strategy?
Well, again, the danger zone is these next 10 or 12 laps. Once all the leaders are on pit road, he's back on the lead lap. I'd say they've got a good feel if they can make it or not. They've got 2 stops, a fuel mileage check to see if they can or not. So the danger is if the leaders pit before a caution comes out.
Yeah, they're not fast enough to win. Perhaps they're smart enough.
Well, sometimes that wins races. You got to be both in this business.
All right, we're past halfway, and it'll be one more pit stop for each of the lead cars. Ralph Shaheen is waiting on the second place car, Glenn Allen.
Glenn Allen is in, Mike. They've already changed right side tires. His father, Glenn Allen Sr., putting the gas in. Crew Chief John Munson working the car, getting the jack going. They get the car up in the air. They've already got right sides on. Fuel is in. Little problem with the left front. He is now underway in a 26-second pit stop. And Dale Jarrett pitted as well. They dropped the track bar on that car. Picked up 4 tires as well.
So green flag pit stops for the leaders who stopped back at lap 40 on that caution flag beginning to come in.
Now these drivers can make it the rest of the way.
Randy Porter in, who won the qualifying race. Ted Christopher making a stop. Mark Green is in. And here's the Busch Series champion Randy LaJoie, who had climbed up as high as 6th place before making his pit stop. And this should be the last stop for each of these teams.
They should be able to go. Hermie Sadler coming into the pits now.
And Kevin LePage, last year's winner. Here's Randy LaJoie coming to a halt. Steve Bird, Billy Naswitz and crew. And also on the pit entry road, front runners. Behind Tracy Leslie there, Steve Park, number 3, and Mark Martin, number 60.
What we got to remember, Mark Martin only took 2 tires on earlier, so it's going to be interesting to see if under green he's going to go ahead and get 4. Steve Park, possibly the tire they've got here, he may just take 2 tires on under green.
Since he took 4 the time before, you're right. That might be. We'll see. Let's go to Dick Berggren in the pits.
Trouble in turn 1. One car has spun up toward the wall as Mark Martin tries to get away. And thankfully for these drivers, there will be no caution as Jimmy Spencer straightens it out and comes back up to speed. Sorry, back to Dick Berggren.
And that was really lucky for Mark Martin, who did just take 2 tires and a stop just under 21 seconds. 8 wins in this car, 25% of his entire career in this one race car that Martin is driving today, which they have just tightened up a little bit on that pit stop. Mike?
Matt Kenseth and Elton Sawyer making pit stops as we continue under green, and everybody held their breath as Spencer spun. Joe Nemechek stays out, and Steve Park coming in, back in.
Was that a penalty? Did he maybe go out of pit road too fast, or did they leave something loose? Steve Park coming back into the pits. This is going to be costly for him as Matt Kenseth gets service, heads back out. Elton Sawyer is in the pits as well.
Well, whatever bad luck Steve Park has becomes good luck for Todd Bodine. Let's see what they do. They're going back around to the right side on Steve Park.
Apparently had a vibration or something was wrong when he went back out there. So they changed those right side tires.
They're dumping an awful lot of fuel in that car for him to have just been on pit road.
Hey, yeah, he probably thought the caution was coming out, and so they took off and didn't complete their pit stop.
That's it.
That's going to be costly, though. Very costly.
Park came in, and when Jimmy Spencer spun, they thought it would produce a caution, send him back out on the track so he wouldn't lose a lap. And when the caution did not wave, Park had to come back around and come in and finally get his service. And yes, that will be costly.
Michael Walker going out of the pits. And here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming into the pits. All of these scheduled green flag pit stops. The leader has yet to stop.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., another car that only took 2 tires on earlier, so it'll be interesting to see if he takes 2 or 4 here on lap 126.
Now, explain the call. Spencer spun between turns 1 and 2, didn't hit anybody or the wall, and got going. His car never came to a halt. He got rolling again, so there was no need to throw the caution. Here's Ralph.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. on pit road. They're having a little trouble getting the fuel in. Right side tires are already changed. They're only going to take 2 tires. He's now underway.
Larry, I think when he spun that he came in and took on 4 tires, so he figured he only needed 2. And here comes the leader, Joe Nemechek, coming into the pits. Elton Sawyer coming back. No, that's, I beg your pardon, is Elton Sadler coming in car number 29 right in front of Joe Nemechek.
Report is that Steve Park's spotter told him of Spencer's spin and anticipated a caution flag. Didn't happen. Here is Dick Berggren.
Nemechek, your leader, has pitted in an overcast situation. Remember, he likes the sunshine. He's looking for a little bit more of that. This is a brand new car, and they are going to make a 4-tire stop on it with a brand new motor. Nemechek absolutely has loaded the cannon to try to win this race today at Homestead. So far, he's had a great day. 19.7, and he just had a great pit stop. Mike?
That was an awfully good pit stop, and I don't think that was a gamble. He's the leader. He can take 4 tires on, and he's set to go the distance on tires and fuel from here on out.
128 of 200 laps are complete here at Homestead. You're watching Joe Nemechek, who's led a good portion of this race, exit pit road. We've had 4 caution flags, the first coming right on lap 3 that damaged or took 5 cars out of the race. 2 more fairly harmless spins, single and 2-car accidents, and then a big 8-car pileup at lap 48. In the garage, Scott Lagasse, Tony Stewart, Jeff Purvis, Dale Shaw, Brad Loney, Dick Trickle, and Mark Crow. As you watch Jimmy Spencer recovering from that spin. It's a NASCAR doubleheader today on CBS. This the final race of the Busch Grand National Series, and next we'll go straight to Las Vegas for the final race in the Craftsman Truck Series. CarQuest Auto Parts 420K coming up next. This is Dennis Setzer, the number 43, and here's the 77 of Ed Barrier, involved in one of the incidents earlier. Setzer vying for a top 20-point payoff at the banquet tomorrow night, and Barrier will come to pit road. So all of these cars that pitted at the lap 40 caution are now coming in under green and completing this round of pit stops. Yet to pit would be Jimmy Spencer, who stopped at lap 51.
Right, he can go a little bit longer. He's up in second place despite the fact that he spun.
He inherited second place with everyone else pitting.
And he should be able to run about 8 or 10 laps further than most of these guys because of pitting on lap 51.
Now Dennis Setzer, who you see here, is the leader because of all these pit stops. Setzer is 20th in the Busch points. He could eclipse Stevie Reeves in 19th and pick up a little extra cash at the banquet, but he's most worried about Jeff Fuller driving Terry Labonte's car. Fuller, 21st in points, just 17 back of Setzer, and the difference between those 2 positions is $30,000. For more on Jimmy Spencer's run back to the front, here's Dick Berggren.
Well, you were wondering how long he could go before Spencer was going to have to pit. Crew Chief Al Krutzinger said about lap 150, Mike. He can go that far.
He gets a caution sooner, more to the benefit of Jimmy Spencer. 131 laps complete. Final race of the season. As you have a look at NASCAR race control down the hall from us, CBS Sports coverage of the 1997 Jiffy Lube Miami 300 will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Leader in the pits, Dennis Setzer. The second David Riddling car, number 43.
He pits at lap 137, so no problem with him going the rest of the way.
Ralph Shaheen.
Well, they're going to take on right side tires. They're putting fuel in as well. We'll wait and see if they come around and take on 4. It looks like they're going to do just 2, Mike, and get him back out. Now they're having problems with the right front tire. That's all they're going to do. They get the tires finally put on and return. 16.9.
Buckshot Jones also in for his final stop of the day.
Good pit stop for Dennis Setzer.
And we're waiting on Jimmy Spencer and Kevin Schwantz. Here's Elton Sawyer. Bob Sutton and Brad Aiken Ford.
I think he'd made a pit stop earlier, so that's it might be leaking oil. We get a report that maybe there's been a little smoke coming from Elton's car.
Now, Sawyer is tied for 7th in the points, and this is going to be a costly left turn. He's in the garage. So Elton Sawyer's season is over. Ralph has more.
Well, it was a motor that let go for Elton Sawyer. He is on his way to the garage area. Looks like his day is done, Mike.
And here's our new leader, Jimmy Spencer, out of Berwick, Pennsylvania. This is the family-owned racing team. His dad Ed is here. And we've got caution.
We've got a car against the wall, turn 4.
Is that great?
And that's
Kevin Schwantz. Greg Sachs on fire there. A lot of damage to the rear.
Tough break for these guys. Good break for Jimmy Spencer. He had not made a green flag pit stop. He'll have to. He'll make one now. He was going to have to before too long. So now this will be a big break for him.
Sachs' car is totaled.
Both ends.
Now you see him moving around inside the car and drops the window net, a signal to the safety crews that he's okay. Wayne Grubb is involved, number 83 as well. Sachs have been running up near the front of the field most of the day, and he's going to jump out.
Yeah, get out of there, Greg. That fire might head towards you there in a little bit, and he sees it, and he's trying his best to get out of there. Yank that thing out and get on away from there. Good boy.
That hose he was having so much trouble with, that's a fresh air hose that goes to his helmet. And sometimes that's a downside of having hoses and things hooked to you. When you're on fire, you just can't get out quick enough.
Greg Sachs, former modified champ from up on Long Island, is okay, but look at the front end of that car. That got body slammed into the wall.
This caution comes with 60 laps to go, so the people that had not pitted, they should be able to get in and get their fuel, and everybody should be good to go to the end.
And here's one of them, Jimmy Spencer. Now the other is Kevin Schwantz, who spun down the front straightaway in the aftermath of the Sachs wreck. So Spencer, if he pits now, also Todd Bodine has been brought back up onto the lead lap by all of this, and Clyde McLeod is starting to look like a very smart team manager once again.
Right now they're showing only 10 cars on the lead lap.
There's Todd. And there's Spencer coming in the pit, and Dick Berggren's there.
Jimmy Spencer on pit road right now. His crew was ecstatic when they saw that yellow flag. They didn't want to see trouble for anybody, but they sure wanted to see a yellow flag for themselves. All they're going to do to this car is put 4 tires on it, put 1 can of fuel in it. They're going to try to pop a spring rubber out of the left rear of the automobile to try to make it handle a little bit. Spencer, one of the hottest drivers in this circuit. His last 4 races, he has 2 wins and a 2nd place. He has just been leading this event. Took a little extra time on that left rear to get that rubber out, and to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Kevin Schwantz has brought the number 88 in. They've changed right side tires. All they've done is pull a little bit of body work away on the right side of the car. They'll get tires on the left side as well. The nose is a little crinkled here on the left corner, but it's nice and cleared away from the tires. Should not be much of a problem. Kevin radioed in and said somebody checked up in front of him, and he apparently ran into the back of that car. So they're going to finish a little body work on this car and get him back out. Now they're taking some time, just making sure everything is clear. The window on the right side, the passenger side window, had caved in a little bit. They pulled that out as well.
He'll be the last car on the lead lap no matter what, so not a big hustle required there to get him back out. Let's show you the aftermath of what happened up here.
Well, there's Schwantz coming down off the banking in the car number 88. On the window.
Ned, you've seen the right side window flopping right there. That window's in there certainly for safety, and it was about to come out.
And Kevin lights him up as he tries to get back underway without losing too many positions. Greg Sachs is okay after losing a hard bout with the wall here at Miami. We'll be right back. For nearly a century, men and machines have come to Daytona Beach in search of speed. And since 1959, the great American race, the Daytona 500, is played out on this great speedway.
Allison throws the block. Cale hits him. He slides. Donnie Allison slides. They get again.
Cale Yarborough taking first at the line. It is Cale Yarborough.
The win the Daytona 500. Thank God. He's going to make it. Dale Jarrett's going to win the Daytona 500.
The 40th annual Daytona 500, live as it has been for the last 20 years on CBS. February, Larry, right around the corner for you folks. You're preparing already.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and answer the question now. We're going to do our best to get Dale Earnhardt into victory lane for the Daytona 500, but if we don't, we'll just keep going and try to win some more races.
I'm not going to pick him next year. I'll tell you right now. Because every time we do, we kind of think that maybe that's put the kibosh on it.
Well, again, we're going to do all we can this winter. We're actually going to be in Talladega starting tomorrow, testing for 1998 for 3 days. So we're going to try to get a jump on it, and hopefully we can get that black number 3 in victory lane this coming year.
Reminder tonight on CBS, Ken Follett's Runaway Thriller becomes a world premiere event. Kelly McGillis, Jason Gedrick, Larry Hagman star in The Third Twin tonight on CBS. not the story of the Racing Christopher brothers, is it? They're twins.
Was, yeah.
Ted and Mike. Not sure which one's the evil twin.
I don't know.
Wayne Grubb's car getting a lot of duct tape and bungee cords and anything else that'll help glue it back together for this final run.
Ned, did they use that much duct tape back in your racing?
No, not that much.
What'd you use?
Sure did. I don't, baling wire and things like that.
144 laps complete here at Homestead. We'll be back for the restart. Welcome back to Homestead, Florida. Here's your top half dozen. 10 cars on the lead lap and then 2 drivers on the tail end of the lead lap. Fedewa and Fuller will restart just ahead of the race leaders. We're still a lap or 2 away of cleanup here from the incident up in turn 4. So let's check in on the final truck race of the season. Let's go to Las Vegas.
Mike, thanks. And I know you remember a number of years ago in Atlanta when Cale Yarborough wrecked a couple of cars, had to go to a shopping center, get his show car, and race it on race day. Well, Buddy Baker, Cale Yarborough has nothing on Mike Skinner this weekend.
Oh, Friday afternoon, he lost an engine going in.
We've got Mark Martin and Dale Jarrett, Joe Nemechek, Winston Cup drivers here, Mike Waltrip. Understand Kenny Schrader's already had quite a weekend with you folks.
He did, as a matter of fact, had a very strong run last night.
Yeah, I really didn't think he would win. There were several cars quicker, but Kenny Schrader just outdrove everybody last night.
He won the NASCAR Winston West Series race as he did a year ago. And the follow-up to that, Mike, is that Butch Gilliland grabbed the series championship. So a big night for 2 fellas here at Vegas a night ago.
All right, we'll be joining in Las Vegas a little later, where Schrader will line up 13th in the truck race today. On the lead lap here at Homestead, 148 laps down, 52 to go. Joe Nemechek leads Glenn Allen, Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, and series champ Randy LaJoy. Then Dennis Setzer, Jimmy Spencer, Joe Bessie, Todd Bodine, Kevin Schwantz listed on the lead lap along with Tim Fedewa, Jeff Fuller, and Mark Green. But some of those are on the tail end of that lead lap.
They are, and now here is Mark Green's car. Nemechek has already passed him, so that puts him a lap down, and really he was that way. But these 2 cars here, the 33 and the 5 cars, they're at the tail end. They can start in front of Nemechek, and if they can stay up there, you don't get a caution, they'd be right back in the thick of the battle, at least be on the lead lap.
So Jeff Fuller, who has that option being on the tail end of the lead lap, he's in Terry Labonte's number 5, starts just ahead of your race leader Nemechek. We're back under green. 51 laps to go as Fuller in the 5 and Fedewa 33 try to hang on to the lead lap here.
I'm sure a lot of fans wonder, why can they start if they're almost a lap down? Why can the leader not come up there beside them? They had made green flag pit stops, and when the leaders went into the pits under caution, well, actually Nemechek didn't, but when Jimmy Spencer did, he was the leader of the race at that time. So they were in front of Nemechek, and so technically they were on the lead lap, so they could start a similar situation to what Dale Jarrett had last weekend at Phoenix, Arizona.
Fuller really getting out of shape in turn 3 and 4. He's going to go the lap down right there.
Trouble, turn 4. 2 cars were way up the racetrack, and one of them at barrier spins. Caution's out. And the field is frozen right at that moment.
Now Tim Fedewa will get his lap back right here.
Because Fedewa was out in front of Nemechek, he will get his lap back. Jeff Fuller may have been just behind Nemechek. We'll double check that. He's side by side there with Michael Waltrip.
Now Michael was 2 laps down. Michael Waltrip in the car number 21. So he was trying to get one of those back. So if he crossed the start-finish line before Nemechek, well then he got one of his laps back.
It was very borderline as to whether Nemechek, who was the leader, took the caution flag or not. These guys are racing back like they did not get the caution a while ago.
Nemechek had backpedaled way out of the throttle.
Okay, it depends now. Like you said, Larry, if Nemechek didn't get the caution, there's a number of drivers, including Dale Earnhardt Jr., that got back on the lead lap there. Steve Park, he was a lap down as a result of green flag pit stops. So this could really make a big difference here, depending on when that yellow flag was waved.
Because if Nemechek took the caution the time before, everybody behind him will stay in their position. The cars that was in front of him would make their lap back up.
And he was driving, Larry, like he'd taken the caution because he was about 3/4 throttle and cars were going past him.
I'm sure NASCAR will review it, but nobody knows probably better than did Joe see the flag or not. He'll know if he did take it or not.
Elliott Sadler was one of those that got back on the lead lap if indeed Nemechek did not get the caution.
You are the leader, Joe, so don't pass
And we'll wait for word from NASCAR to sort it out. There's a lot of smoke from Elton Sawyer's car. He had gone to the garage earlier and come back out, but Ned, since that's coming out the tailpipe, it looks pretty internal.
Yeah, we thought he was out before with the blown engine, but now I think you're right. I think he is finished for the day.
Spotters up on the roof. Well, Ed Barrier was one of 2 cars way up high in the groove, and he went around, but Matt Kenseth was the other. It looked, I was watching it, Ned, it looked like he just got way up in the marbles, controlled the car until the middle of 3 and 4, and couldn't turn it back down.
You know, a lot of time after a caution, if you're on hot tires and you have not changed tires, the car will be a little bit squirrely. It just won't quite grip the racetrack, because what happens, those hot tires will pick up rubber until you can get the rubber scrubbed back off and you go back racing. Sometimes the car can be a handful.
And when you say the marbles up on the high side of that racetrack, really it's rubber that has come off, worn off the tires, and then it sort of balls up and gets on the high side of the racetrack, and you get up there and it feels like marbles.
And there might have been a bit of residual speedy dry up there from Greg Sachs' crash. We don't know. Phil Parsons, the channel lock onboard cam, having a look at the 5th place point man, being pursued by Elliott Sadler and by Buckshot Jones, who right now is on pit road, along with Tim Fedewa and Jeff Fuller. 153 laps complete. We'll be right back to Homestead. Welcome back to Homestead. 154 laps complete. A lot of talking going on between crews and the NASCAR officials as to what happened as the caution flag came out. First lap of caution, we're told, was lap 152. And we'll double check when they post the restart order as to when the caution came out and who is lined up where. Our Jiffy Lube 300 website puts you right in the fast lane, up to the minute news, and chat with NASCAR fans worldwide and see what goes into a successful pit stop on our fully animated Coach's Edge. Be part of the action at cbs.sportsline.com. Next Saturday, NASDAQ College Football on CBS features the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame with Audrey Denson. They'll travel to Bayou Country to battle LSU and star running back Kevin Falk next Saturday here on CBS Sports. Caution out at lap 152, 6th time today.
Looks like the 31 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. that they've got him posted there, that apparently he's going to be called into the pits. Now, he was one of those drivers that passed Nemechek on that lap in question after the accident up in turn 3 and 4, and he did pass Nemechek, but so did several others. So don't know what the situation might be.
So to review what happened, Ed Barrier spun between turns 3 and 4. The caution flag came out, and at some point Joe Nemechek rolled out of the throttle. A number of cars went by him, and thinking that they had not yet come to the caution flag, raced all the way around the speedway. So NASCAR is reviewing it right now, and the big question would seem to be whether or not Joe Nemechek took the caution flag as he came under the flag stand, or whether or not he came all the way around the racetrack to the flag.
And NASCAR has a camera on the start-finish line every lap, and what they'll do, they'll go back and review that, and if in that camera it shows Nemechek crossing the start-finish line with the caution flag displayed, then he did take the caution. If it don't show that, those guys did right by going ahead and racing, just in case it come up a question. That'll be the difference, whether he did or didn't take it at the start-finish line.
Well, this is the finale for the Busch Grand National drivers for 1997, but next season they'll open it up at Daytona, traditionally the day before the 500. Saturday, February 14th, you'll see the Napa Auto Parts 300. Runs at noon Eastern Time as the season begins anew. Hungry?
Looks awfully good.
So 46 laps to go. Nemechek posted as the leader ahead of Glenn Allen, Mark Martin, Randy LaJoie, and Jimmy Spencer. Elton Sawyer continuing to make some slow laps here, trying to make enough laps to hang on to 8th in the point standing. There's Mark Martin, who's been a threat all day. 3rd place right now, all-time winner in this series. 6 cars got their lap back, we are told from NASCAR. Elliott Sadler, Steve Park, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, Tim Fedewa, and Jeff Fuller did get past Joe Nemechek and did get back onto the lead lap.
And Michael Waltrip made up a lap too. He was 2 down, but now he would only be 1 down.
Thanks, Ned. Let's go to Ken Squire.
16 cars remain in that lead lap, and I think everyone will agree the performance of Glenn Ellen has been outstanding here today as we get down toward 40 laps to go in this race. Glenn Ellen staying up here with these top runners, fighting with Nemechek and Martin, and now here's LaJoie back in it. He's come from 32nd all the way to 4th, and Jimmy Spencer. We're in for a tremendous finish this afternoon.
I think so, Ken. You've got some of the most experienced drivers in the business, and got a couple of hardest heads in the business too up there, right up there, Ned.
And that always makes it interesting.
And that's not a knock. I mean, that's a good quality in a race driver.
Sure.
And you take fellas like Randy LaJoie and Jimmy Spencer right there in number 20. And Jeff Fuller is stopped on the racetrack down at the end of the pit road, but out on the racetrack. And
normally when that happens, that's a sign that NASCAR has told him to stop for some reason or another.
Well, I think he was behind Joe Nemechek when they crossed that start-finish line on the lap that was in question.
Okay.
Now, whether they are determining, okay, you didn't get back in the lead lap.
There's Bob Labonte, and he wants to be part of that determination.
Yeah.
He is the owner of that car.
Bob Labonte, right here. That's Terry and Bobby's dad, crew chief on this number 5 car, and apparently they took that lap away from him. And wait a little, they got others stopped down here now. So all of those that you mentioned there a moment ago, Mike, looks like they're stopping.
Oh, okay. Here, perhaps, Ned, they're putting them at the tail end of the line, but on the lead lap. We're going to have to check this out. Dick Berggren?
Well, the crew chiefs are all talking to NASCAR up and down pit road, Mike, and it is about exactly that subject, where everybody is supposed to be, and some of them are delighted at what has happened. Some obviously are quite disenchanted at what has happened, so they're all arguing their case. Meanwhile, the crews have been looking at their race cars. Nemechek's car continues to run better under full sun conditions. Crew chief Brian Patty told me that's exactly the way they set the car up last night. It just makes the car a little tighter, which is a surprise because usually the sun does the opposite. But Nemechek is hoping for sunshine the rest of the day. Meanwhile, Mark Barton is not happy with his race car at all. Sometimes it's pushing, sometimes it's loose. It's rarely exactly right. Steve Meal, the team manager, said, our guy has just taken a 5th place car and he's got it in 3rd spot. I don't know how much further he can go. Randy LaJoie, who is running in 4th spot, meanwhile, is having carburetor problems. They're not going to change it. They're going to go to the end, but the engine's not putting up as much power as they'd like. Spencer in 5th spot has been moving forward, and look who's in 6th. It's Joe Bessie all the way from the back of the pack. Bessie's got the same car that he won the only race in his career in, that race in Dover several weeks ago. Mike?
Well, these cars are stopped to find their proper order in the restart. We'll sort it out for you when we come back to Homestead live on CBS.
This CBS Sports Race Summary is sponsored by Jiffy Lube. Drive in, drive out, drive on.
Down to the last laps in this finale. 40 laps to go, just 60 miles to decide it. We've had 5 different leaders. We've had lead changes of 8 times here. But the big story, the cautions. There have been 6 for 40 laps. That's as many caution laps as they've experienced here on this mile-and-a-half track. And this is the new configuration. It's taking its toll here today. These oval turns are catching them, and we're in for a wild finish. We're looking at 14 cars up in that lead lap to decide it all. Check that, make it 11. Back to Tim Fedewa in 11th position as we get ready to go back to green. Mike?
Ken, here's what happened. NASCAR has reviewed the run to the caution flag, and they have determined that Joe Nemechek did take the caution flag as the 77 barrier was spinning, that they did not run an additional lap. And that means that Elliott Sadler, Steve Park, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth and Jeff Fuller remain 1 lap behind. However, Tim Fedewa was in front of Joe Nemechek, and as you point out, he's 11th and he's on the lead lap. Nemechek's the leader. Glenn Allen is 2nd, Mark Martin 3rd, Randy LaJoie 4th, and Jimmy Spencer 5th. Then it's Joe Bessie and Todd Bodine, Dennis Setzer, Kevin Schwantz, Matt Kenseth, we're showing, we'll double check that, and Tim Fedewa.
Those are the 11 cars on the lead lap.
And we get set to go back to green. Lead lap cars on the outside lane, lap cars to the inside. It'll be 38 laps to go. Green flag.
Nemechek really gets a good restart there.
And he had to, because look at all these guys that are trying to get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, he wouldn't clear that traffic before they got down to that first turn.
How about Clyde McLeod? Stopped his driver, Todd Bodine, at lap 100, said we're going all the way, didn't mind getting 2 laps down, said it would work out fine. It did. You're riding with the 7th place car, and just ahead of him, in that blue machine, is the man that Todd is racing for second in the points, Steve Park, who is a lap down in 2 laps down, 1 lap down, excuse me, in 16th place. So there are the points, given the positions they're running in right now. Bodine, a victor out of California. Inaugural Busch race there. Let me correct on Matt Kenseth. Matt was never a lap down. He was 4th on the prior restart, but slipped way up the racetrack, dropping to 10th. So he was not part of those cars trying to get back on the lead lap. He remains on the lead lap.
And with him being one of the last cars on the lead lap, he did pit and take on 4 tires as well.
So he's at 10th place.
And here's Jeff Fuller. He's trying to get his lap back that he thought he had there a moment ago.
Riding on our Bear onboard camera with Fuller, and he's going to take the inside on Nemechek, who lets him go. Now Fuller also stopped under this caution once he learned that he was a lap down at the tail end, or rather once all that was sorted out, he stopped for tires as well as did Matt Kenseth.
Okay, so he is now back on the lead lap. He is in 12th position.
But that's not going to be enough for him to take over 20th in the points from Dennis Setzer, because Setzer sits up there in 8th place.
Yeah, he's in front of him, so he's right now has gained points on Fuller.
See Randy LaJoy really pulling up on the back of Glenn Allen there as they go down the back straightaway. 35 laps to go.
And LaJoy, now the 2-time series champion.
Randy really driving it down in the corner there. Really runs up on the bumper of Glenn Allen through the center of the corner, but Glenn holds that bottom line. Randy just can't get the run off the corner to pass him.
With the exception of Jimmy Spencer, I don't think there's anyone here that runs a car harder into the corner than Randy LaJoy. In fact, as we ride with Joe Nemechek on our Bell South cam chasing Jeff Fuller, you look at all of these drivers that have come out of the modified division, used to those 15-inch wide tires, they can really throw the car into the corner. The Fuller brothers, Greg Sachs, Spencer, LaJoy, Bodine. And they're used to taking it really hard into the corner.
Well, sometimes that can be good and it can be bad. Sometimes they'll drive the car so deep in the corner that they won't be able to get the car back to the bottom, and they pay the price on the exit of the corner.
Add Mike McLaughlin to that list. He's a national champion in that division as well, and Ted Christopher. Speaking of McLaughlin, here's our Gould's Pumps camera riding with the pole sitter, who has dropped to 2 laps down. 24th place for McLaughlin today.
Never got the handle on that race car from the drop of the green flag.
And Nemechek pulling back up on Jeff Fuller to get a run underneath the Labonte car.
And puts him a lap down once again. Well, I think it caught himself a caution there during those 2 laps that he was out driving the business.
It's almost like Nemechek just was real patient there in those early laps, letting some heat get back in his tires. There you see Andrea Nemechek, Joe's wife, looking on.
Happy about the way things are going right now.
And how about a tip of the hat to Bob Labonte and Terry Labonte? Here's Jeff Fuller needing a ride to try to get up into the top 20 in points, and they allowed him to run the car that they've had a good bit of success with here.
That was a fine gesture on their part. And that's typical of the Labonte family. They're good people. They understand the sport and positions that people can get in, and they have been helped in their careers, and here's an opportunity for them to help someone else.
31 laps away from the curtain of the 1997 Busch Grand National season. Lakeland, Florida's Joe Nemechek in the lead. For Nemechek, a victory today would truly be bittersweet. For it was here that his younger brother John suffered fatal head injuries during the Craftsman truck race back in March.
state, especially here, you know, Homestead, when so many bad things have happened to our family. It would be wonderful. It'd be definitely a big boost for our whole family.
Wouldn't be a dry eye in the house, Ned.
No, it would be a very, very popular and emotional win. And he deserves, if he wins it, he deserves it, because he's been there all day long and one of the fastest cars.
His wife, Andrea, new mom, and their son named John after Joe's brother. What a story. Quite a racing family. Let's go to Ralph.
Mike, don't forget, shortly after John's untimely passing, Joe went to Charlotte in the Busch National race there and came back and got a big victory, which was a huge uplifting thing for Joe family, for the entire NASCAR racing family. So it would not be a surprise to see Joe come here to a place that is so heavy on his heart and get an uplifting victory here.
At second place, Glenn Allen trying to work underneath Jeff Fuller there, who's gone one lap down. And the front four have separated themselves from the field just a bit. One lap car in their midst. There's Nemechek. You look back at the lead that he has now built over Glenn Allen, Randy LaJoie, and Mark Martin. Jimmy Spencer a ways back in fifth. And there's the gap. First place back to Jeff Fuller, the lapped car, and then second, third, and fourth, keeping close company. 28 laps to run here at the Miami-Dade Homestead Motorsports Complex. A newly rebuilt track, $8 million in changes to turns 1 and 2, turns 3 and 4 to make it a traditional oval rather than the four-cornered layout they ran previous. And at the top of your screen, Glenn Allen getting underneath Jeff Fuller, underneath that lapped car, and then he'll have clear sailing to try to chase down Joe Nemechek. Just about 9/10 of a second between them. And here's Randy LaJoie trying to move up as well.
You know, with 27 laps to go, the people at home may wonder, why is Jeff Fuller racing these guys so hard with that few laps to go and he's a lap down? But what we've got to remember, he's racing 9 other cars that's a lap down, and every position right now is very important to him as far as those points.
Fuller's in 12th. Well. Yes, Fuller's in 12th place. Stephen Park is 13th. Earnhardt Jr. 14th. Sadler, Jarrett, LePage, last year's winner. Mark Green, Michael Waltrip, Tracy Leslie. That's the top 20.
You saw Jeff Fuller waving there. I think he finally decided, I have fought as hard as I can fight, and he was gesturing, I think, to Mark Martin, pass me on the outside. So that certainly shows a gentleman what he is with this few laps left in the race.
Joe Nemechek, the leader, 1989 All-Pro champ and the champion of this series 5 years ago. Here's Dick Bergman.
As the race winds down and her husband is leading this event, Andrea Nemechek sits atop the war wagon scoring it. What would it mean for you to have Joe win today, Andrea?
It'd be everything in the world.
Obviously a very emotional moment. Andrea Nemechek.
Tears behind those glasses as Joe Nemechek soldiers on, doing what he knows how to do best, run that car to the front. 25 laps to go. Spotter calling him clear of the lapped car he just passed.
It looks so effortless when we see him sitting there in that seat. That car has really been hooked up all day.
It has been there all day. I know he's been complaining and saying that his car is better in certain weather conditions, but it looks like to me it's been pretty flawless all day long.
Sure has.
Stephen Park led the opening laps, then Nemechek went to the front for 29 laps. Jimmy Spencer, Kevin Schwantz have all had a shot at the lead here today. So is Dennis Setzer.
Doing what you're doing. The spread's staying the same.
Setzer and Spencer picking up the lead when other leaders pitted. And now he has led since lap 142, 33 laps.
You heard Nemechek's spotter telling him the spread's staying the same. What he's telling him is the interval from him back to Glenn Allen, that Glenn's not gaining on him, but Joe's not pulling away. And I'd say right now, with 23 laps to go, that's what Joe needs to do. Just be smooth, drive that car straight off the corner, not get himself in trouble.
And he has the advantage of not having that second place car close enough to distract him from running a smooth line. We'll be back to Homestead after this.
Ken Squire back with you here at the Jiffy Lube 300 and what is building to be a very dramatic finish. Joe Nemechek trying to win on the track that took his brother's life. behind him, Randy LaJoie, who's just won the national championship in the last race, has taken over in second spot. Behind him now in third, Glenn Allen Jr. Last year, Rookie of the Year, best finish, 7th spot. This year, all season long, up in the top 10, but never better than 7th. He's run second here in the last 40 laps. He's driving for Bill Petke out of Syracuse, New York. And that gentleman has a knack for finding good talent. Had Tommy Ellis years ago, Jeff Burton not too far back, Ricky Craven. Glenn Allen Jr. looks to be off the same stock as he keeps this number 99 just in front of Mark Martin as we move toward the finish. All right, back to the booth. Here's Mike Joy.
Thanks, Ken. Allen has had 5 top 10 finishes this season. Had a strong year, and this would be a great way to cap it. But he's lost second spot now and runs third just ahead of Mark Martin. A Winn-Dixie camera on board with Martin's Roush Racing Ford. Randy LaJoie, series champion, up to second spot and beginning to track down Nemechek. This one's not over. 17 laps to go. Here's the interval, first to second, third and fourth.
At the line, it was 1.56 seconds.
Right after Randy went by Glenn Allen, it was 1.9 seconds. So he's maybe getting about a 10th a lap. Joe Nemechek, I was looking a while ago, he has about a half a racetrack in front of him that's clean with no lap traffic. So I don't think lap traffic will play a role in this.
A 10th of a second a lap is enough for LaJoie to catch Nemechek, but maybe not enough for him to pass her. Nemechek started his season with a 4th at Daytona, picked up a 5th at Atlanta, a win at Charlotte, 3rd at Watkins Glen, 8th at Charlotte in October. This is his 9th start of the season. He's only had 3 finishes out of the top 10. This battle's for position.
It is. They're both a lap down, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to take away the 14th, 13th position from Jeff Fuller. Fuller hanging tight there on the outside. Earnhardt's going to get him as he come off the turn. Well, maybe not.
He's not going to give up yet.
No, he isn't.
Well, validate your statement, Larry, about why Fuller had to keep racing hard with the leaders. It was to stay out in front of these cars that are all 1 lap down. And he surrenders the spot to Earnhardt. It doesn't say Dale Earnhardt Jr. on that car. If you got out the glue and the paint in your model building, they left the Dale Earnhardt off, and all it says is Jr. JR with a period. Everybody knows who that is.
Of course.
Coming up next, CarQuest Auto Parts 420K. They're getting ready to drop the green flag in Las Vegas. And you'll see it live here on CBS later this afternoon. 14 laps to go. Joe Nemechek trying for his 2nd win of the season in the family-owned Nemco Chevrolet.
Saying a prayer.
When Joe came out to driver introductions at Talladega, where we were interviewing some of the drivers, he walked out with his uniform on, the helmet, of course, hanging in the race car.
Those times, Joe,
He had his infant son John in one hand and the bottle and the diaper in the other.
97.
And he sat there and played dad right up to the point of having to climb up on stage and be introduced. Dick Berggren.
Well, as the 74 car is trying to chase down Joe Nemechek, this crew has absolutely got their eyes on the sky, Mike. And every time the sun comes out, they get all excited. When a cloud comes over, they get depressed. The car is much better when the sun comes out. And just a moment ago, it did. Brian Patty put both hands to his mouth, kissed both fingers, and raised them to the sky. They've got 13 laps to go. Clouds are coming, but they probably aren't going to be here for 13 laps.
There's a medical malady, Dick, called seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. It's people that do real well when the sun's out and get gloomy when it's cloudy. And I think that car has picked up a case of it.
Because he's actually pulled to about 2 1/4 second lead over Randy LaJoie now. So he's starting to stretch it out just a little bit with 12 laps to go.
Yeah, since we talked about it a moment ago being 1.56 seconds ahead, he's now 2.227, so he's picked up 3/4 of a second. There's a battle for third.
Mark Martin's got it. Now here comes Steve Park. He is a lap down in 12th place. Mark Martin has moved up to third. He's going to finish his Busch Series season in fine style. Next week, Mark Martin, Dale Jarrett battle Jeff Gordon for the Winston Cup in Atlanta.
Well, there'll be a lot said and written this week leading up to that final event of the year. Of course, Jeff Gordon is sitting in the captain's seat with the 77-point lead over Jarrett, 87 points over Martin. but they do have a mathematical shot at it.
Says a lot for NASCAR racing, Ned. You can go 30 races and have it all come down to that small a distance at the end of the season.
Well, you know, there have been people who criticize the point system, and I think this is testimonial to the system the way that it is. I mean, you know, almost every year we come down to several drivers having a shot at it, and that's all you could ask for.
Now the spotter is trying to keep Nemechek focused. He's saying, let's get back to a rhythm, Joe, meaning that his last 2 laps must have been a couple of tenths of a second apart, one from the other. He's trying to just
hammer down.
In fact, that last time around, his lead was only 1.513 seconds. So that 3/4 of a second that we mentioned a moment ago has gone away.
Randy LaJoie closing in. Ralph's in his pit.
Steve Byrd is the championship-winning crew chief for Randy. Steve, can you catch Joe Nemechek?
Well, I don't know. We need a little luck to do that. You know, we had that flat tire, got hit early. Just trying to work on it. Come back to second. You know, it's a big tribute to this Base Motorsports guys. You know, it's a great team. The 33's a great team. Jimmy and them. I'm just excited. You know, Base Motorsports, great bunch of guys. I want to say hi to Mom, Dad, my kids at home, and everybody at Henry Chase. I got Henry here drinking B-52s.
Oh, jeez. Well, pour us one, will you? We'll see you after the show. Steve Byrd will go to the banquet as the champion crew chief for the 4th time. He won it with Rob Moroso, with Johnny Benson, and he's now won it twice with Randy LaJoie. There he is.
That's the thing. Not only 4 championships, but with 3 different drivers. That's pretty phenomenal. It's amazing that he has evaded the Winston Cup circuit of being a crew chief over the past few years.
He's been up there, but he doesn't like all the travel there. He likes kind of the relaxed pace, he calls it, of this series. Started out with modified racer Peter Fiandaca in Fitchburg, Mass. Went up to view their shop, which was Peter's backyard. Peter said, here's the motor room. It was a tree with a chain hoist.
He's come a long way.
Yes, he has, and he's done great things. 8 laps to go, 7 this time by. There's how the interval has closed right up, Ned.
Yeah, 1.140 seconds. So LaJoie is definitely closing in now. It could be that Nemechek is just sort of cooling it here, not taking any unnecessary chances.
That's about a second over the last 6 laps that he has chopped off that lead.
Randy LaJoie's eyes are filled with dollar signs. He'll get the big champion's check tomorrow night. What's behind the goggles of Joe Nemechek right now? Only he knows. Along with his thoughts and with that race car, sliding it around Homestead, just a second ahead of Randy LaJoie, who now begins to appear in Nemechek's mirror.
Last lap still right the same.
Good job. Bud, you look great.
Keep that driver pumped up.
His spotter really doing a good job of
Yes.
that. Really talking to him, keeping him focused, and keeping him pumped up, as you said. Randy LaJoie's car just, I believe it's got better as the day went on. His car really working on the bottom good.
We've been listening to Randy Howell, Nemechek's spotter, giving him lap times, keeping him focused, trying to hold on to that lead. Joe's dad has been with him, the team owner, these many years. His mom, Martha, always in the garage area, always with a camera at the ready, taking pictures, sending them out to everybody involved in motorsports.
A rocket ship on the back.
Helping chronicle his career. That was Joe talking
I'm
about
a lot better in turn 2 than I am turn 4.
focusing on how that car is handling. He's got to coax it around 5 more times. 4 this time by.
You heard her spotter tell him, I guess it was a rocket ship, and Joe said he's a lot better off turn 2. That's going to make it run down the back straightaway a lot better.
Sure. Boy, it cut down about a 1/10 of a second off of the lead that time, but he'll need more than a 1/10 of a second per lap. LaJoie will to catch him because he's still over a second behind with 3.5 laps to go.
Couple of cars in front of Joe Nemechek. Hermie Sadler, he'll probably catch him maybe down the front straightaway. It'd be a lot better to catch him on the front straightaway than down in turn 1 and 2.
3 laps to go. And LaJoie draws ever closer. Mark Martin is still 3rd. Glenn Allen 4th. Jimmy Spencer's 5th. Todd Bodine running in 6th. would be the second place point man. 7th, Dennis Setzer, who would hold on to 20th and that $30,000 check tomorrow night. Matt Kenseth 8th, Tim Fedewa 9th, Kevin Schwantz 10th, and Joe Bessie.
Good battles going on between Dennis Setzer and Kenseth in the 17 car, and also Tim Fedewa and Kevin Schwantz are battling for positions back there as we watch this thing unfold here at the end.
Traffic for Joe Nemechek. He works his way around the outside. Here comes LaJoie.
Hermie really made a nice gesture, though. He moved almost all the way below the white line.
And another car that Nemechek is coming up passing just goes right on by, no problem for either driver.
But look at LaJoie diving into turn 3. He really took it in there deep. 1 lap to go. Can the hand of fate that has been so cruel to the Nemechek family? Trouble it is Fedewa, who has spun. White flag is out, and now they'll race to the checker no matter what.
And there's more trouble up in turns 3 and 4. Evidently someone lost an engine or something.
Setzer in the wall. Setzer in the fence. They'll have to come to the checkered flag. As the hand of fate brings the yellow flag out, Nemechek comes into dark territory. LaJoie closes even further as they slide through turn 3. Setzer gets running on the brakes as Nemechek. Here comes LaJoie down to the track apron. A drag race around a lap car. And Joe Nemechek will win it.
What a win. What a run. Boy, that was close all the way through turn 3 and 4.
And that hand of fate waves kindly over Joe Nemechek.
Everybody did a heck of a job, man. I'm proud of every one of you, man. It means a lot.
Take one for John, John. The victory lap for John.
It can't mean enough for Joe Nemechek, but certainly it means a lot.
Just collecting his thoughts.
Hey, Joe, let's do one backwards, bud. Do one backwards.
Talking about the famous Polish victory lap that Alan Quickie made so famous as he spins it around here. Start-finish line is going to make the Polish victory lap in honor of his brother John.
Do one backwards, bud. All the way around.
Fans are just going crazy.
He pulls up to Randy LaJoie. Big hand slap right there between the championship and the winner. And Joe Nemechek.
Oh, hell of a job there, bud. Did what we're supposed to do.
Randy LaJoie celebrates his championship with a big smoke show as he did at Rockingham when he clinched. He lights him up for the fans here at start finish.
Well, is he having a ball or what?
He is having fun. He might light it up till he blows it up. He's still going.
He did it on the front straightaway at Rockingham, then over the back stretch where there were a lot of fans, and did it over there and rammed it into the wall. Got so much smoke he couldn't see.
I think he's blown it up, Ned. Randy LaJoie climbs out the champion for the second year in a row.
And listen to those fans. They love it.
2 titles for LaJoie. An emotional win for Joe Nemechek. We'll talk to them after this. Coming up next, the CarQuest Auto Parts 420K live from Las Vegas, but now down to an emotional victory lane. Ken Squire.
John, and here is Joe Nemechek, the champion of this race, coming out. 34 years of age. For 21 years, he's been a racer, and never a day like this. Joe, congratulations. What a beautiful race.
I just can't say enough. I mean, what an emotional day. You know, Bell South Mobility Chevrolet Monte Carlo was awesome. The guys just had excellent stops, and I got kind of lucky there at the end. I got away on the restart, and I knew Randy would be coming, and Mark Martin, and whoever else was back there, and I just don't know what to say. This one's for John. I know he was watching over us. We had an awesome race car. Engines ran good. Just everything was perfect.
Last lap, your spotter did a fantastic job for you. How about describing that last lap for us? What was going through your mind when you came on that incident up in turn 3 and then brought it home?
I saw a car wreck going down the back straightaway, and the thing was halfway gone. It was the 33 car, Tim Fiedel, and I saw Randy LaJoie really coming fast. And they said there's more wrecked cars coming off, and I got over to the exit of the corner, and people went down the apron. They kind of blocked all my avenues, and I said I got to shoot through the middle, and just held her wide open, and just lucky the gap didn't close, and we squeezed through. Unbelievable.
Last lap coming off the 4th turn, realizing it was yours. Give us an idea of how you felt.
Just, I mean, there's a lot of emotion. This is, in 1 year to have a tragedy, have my brother, my best friend, die down here, and then come back here and win a race. It's unbelievable, unbelievable.
Andrea, that was some moment, wasn't it?
That was awesome.
Now, what was the reaction of the expert here?
Oh, I don't think he knows what to think.
Congratulations to all of you for a wonderful afternoon and a great race. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
And Randy LaJoie parked his car in the middle of the pit road. He said, I don't know where to go with this thing with all that smoke and stuff. However, did you manage to finish second with the carburetor troubles you had and the earlier flat tire?
You know, I just can't say enough about Base Motorsports and, you know, FINA, our sponsor, and Chevrolet Monte Carlo. We've been strong all year long, and obviously we won the championship. But, you know, I want to thank all the race fans out there that not only support myself and our series, but, you know, all race fans. Thank you, race fans, because without you race fans, we wouldn't be able to do what we have to do.
And this little guy is Casey. He is the 2nd generation. Right over there, see if we can get a shot. That's Don LaJoie. He is the 1st generation. Mike Joy.
Big racing family there. When the white flag waves, the caution, even if it comes out, you must race back to the flag. The field cannot slow. The next flag the drivers see is the checkered flag. And Joe Nemechek brought it home here at Homestead today.